Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live video. It's Friday the 15th of August 2025 and yeah, we're about halfway through August. Thank goodness. It is our big hot and humid and rainy season. We call it monsoon season, and boy did we get hit with it the last 2 nights in a row. Holy moly, lightning and thunder and just sideways blowing rain pouring down. And thankfully that actually did happen, because we need the rain and it knocks all the dust out of the air and it actually cleans the air quality up here in the valley of Phoenix. And boy, I'll tell you, not a good time to be rebuilding a RAID array. Thankfully we haven't lost any power, but boy, that would have been a little bit anxiety ridden. So who knows, I kind of do hope we get some more rain. On the other hand, I picked a really bad time to start rebuilding RAID arrays, but they're all working. Everything's fine. I've got 2 RAID arrays expanding right now on 2 different Synologies with the patch on them, and they're working perfectly. So knock on wood, we don't lose power during the rest of monsoon season, because I'll be expanding these RAID arrays for the next few days. But so far, so good. And just because you lose power, it doesn't mean that there's going to be any problem with the RAID array recovering. But if there ever was going to be, that would cause it. Today, as a Friday video, normally we have, you know, some computer to review, some computer to build, things of that nature. And right now we're in a bit of a lull. So I thought we'll just hang out today. We have more stuff coming. We have a couple more mini PCs coming in next week. We also have a couple other items, I believe, if they follow through, that we can share with you. But today, I guess we're going to do a hangout, answer your questions. And, you know, I can use a little bit of a little break from everything that's been on and off this bench in the last 3 months. So I'm tired of moving stuff, if I'm honest. I'm just tired of moving it. But I did try to look up the extended security updates on Windows 10. I've got a couple of Windows 10 computers still here. And the one I tried, I didn't try all 3. The one I tried was not being offered extended security updates yet. But we are still 2 months away, 2 months before the end of Windows 10 support. So I don't expect that everybody is going to have that this early. That option. It'll be an automatic option, assuming you've got all your Windows 10 updates installed up to the latest. It'll just appear for you automatically. So a lot of people on the internet, they like to freak out 10 years before anything happens. There's nothing you can do to force that. It's going to be offered to you when Microsoft decides to offer it to you. And if you don't want to receive the payment due notice on your credit card bill 3 months in advance of when it's due, then by equal reflection, you shouldn't be trying to activate something that couldn't possibly even help you until at the very earliest, the 15th of October. So I think 30 days is reasonable. So when we get to a month from now, we get to the middle of September, we'll see if there's anybody left who still hasn't gotten the option to sign up for the extended security updates. I really, I have no anxiety about this at all. It's way too early to be worrying about it. It's part of Microsoft's plan, and Microsoft is well aware if they want to sign you up, they've got until their own deadline, which is October 14th, to get you signed up. Otherwise, they might leave their customers feeling like, I have to buy a new computer, and then they miss out on that that option that Microsoft is offering. They would be basically eating themselves if they did that. So Microsoft is incentivized to get it done, but they can't roll it all out at once. It has to be done in a controlled manner because of the size of the world and the fact that there's hundreds of millions of Windows 10 computers out there. So please understand and be patient and wait your turn. Nothing will happen if you were able to get those extended security updates activated today. or a month from now, or on October 15th, it changes nothing but your psychological perceptions. So when it actually matters, when you actually would be justified, in my opinion, to be concerned about it, would be October 7th. Now, if by October 7th you have not received the option on your Windows 10 computer for extended security updates, then please let us know, and I'm sure we'll have an option for you that we'll be aware of. But we don't have a crystal ball, and we can't tell you what that's going to be. We also can't tell you that there will be anybody who doesn't get it. So from what Microsoft is saying is everybody that has Windows 10, that has all the latest updates, the latest Windows 10 version, will be offered that before October 15th. That's what they're saying. And I have no reason to believe they're lying. Now, there may be some people that have misconfigured computers that for one reason or another, they're not qualifying for it. But we need to figure out who those people are. And we can't do that until the time comes. So while you can have all the anxiety and all the worry, it won't make anything any different in reality. So I encourage you to sit back, relax, and watch this problem solve itself for you if you just leave it alone. I keep telling people, leave stuff alone. You know, it'll oftentimes resolve itself, but when people go in and they try and force it, there's usually long-term consequences. And, you know, it's your decision, but I'm just letting you know there's a pattern to this we've been seeing over the years where the users just can't leave stuff alone. They're too impatient. They end up causing bigger problems. If you leave it alone, it oftentimes, depending on what the problem is, but specifically issues like this, if you leave it alone, it'll normally just go through its regular scheduled course. You just didn't know that. I see Mara.
Hi.
Hello.
You have email.
I've got mail.
I'm happy to see that screen working.
Oh no, I had to unplug it and plug it back in.
Again? That's
why I haven't put the panels back on it. Yeah, it seemed like we might have had it working, but no. It is the Thermaltake products, they've just gone right down the toilet. And I can't strongly advise my viewers, stay away from Thermaltake, stay away from their coolers, stay away from their cases, stay away from their LCD screens especially. Their LCD screen software, just Google it and see what they're saying about it online. It's probably the worst in the industry. And the compatibility that we're having with the screen and the USB on a modern motherboard, I mean, what excuse do they have? It's just, you know, it's $90 for that little tiny screen. I could have bought a full-size 22-inch monitor for $90. All right.
Check your email.
Checking my email. I got to get my glasses. Let me get to my glasses. Let's see. Email. Oh, our friend Buster with a Amazon gift card. David Graham with an Amazon gift card. David says, thank you for being a great teacher. Well, thank you for being a great student and a friend. We appreciate you. And yeah, shout out to our good friend Buster out there in Scotland as well. Let's see in the chat room. Doman 2000 is quoting, I don't know what he's quoting, but it says consumer extended security update feature is not broadly enabled yet, but it will supposedly be available for all by mid-August or with August cumulative update preview. There was an August cumulative update preview that came out Tuesday for Windows 10 users. And it's 506, I can't remember, 3079? Anyway, the latest cumulative update, which fixes a bug where some Windows 10 computers were not being offered the extended security updates. And last night, I made sure that update was installed, and it was on the Windows 10 computer, but I still wasn't being offered ESU. So I uninstalled the update, manually downloaded and installed it, and rebooted. It's a big update. It takes a while. Made no difference whatsoever. So this is why I'm telling you guys, just leave it alone. And it literally is mid-August today. Actually, I think August has 31 days, doesn't it? So we're not even in mid-August yet, technically. And again, whether you enable extended security updates today or on October 14th, it makes no difference whatsoever. There's no benefit to you having it today other than your own psychological uh, state of mind. I can't help you with that, but it will make no difference in actual reality to anybody, including yourself in reality, for you to take care of that anytime before October 14th. There is nothing to be gained. There is no advantage, and it's nothing to be concerned about. When that October 14th date is looming nearer, because we're still 2 months away, when you get to like October, let's just say, and then you start worrying about it, again, I would be a little bit more on board with having some concern, but to be concerned now, it's no different than what I was telling you guys 3 years ago with Windows 10 is ending. You know, that was 3 years ago. You guys were, many of you, not all of you, were having panic attacks and trying to, you know, figure out how do I solve this problem. You have 3 years for crying out loud. Don't you have anything else to do? So I don't have customers, and the reason I say it like that, I don't have customers that call me up with problems like this. This is so weird, because if I go outside and I talk to people, nobody talks about this. But if I go online, this is all people want to talk about. It is two different worlds. It's like I'm talking to people on Mars, and then I'm talking to people on Earth. And you'd think these people never met each other. It is one of the strangest phenomenons I've ever seen in my life. It's as though the people online do not interact with the people in reality, and the people in reality are not interacting with the people online. So we end up with two entirely different communities with different sets of anxieties. And, you know, I'm somewhere in the middle on this, because I deal in my business that pays the bills. That's all done in real life. On the other hand, I also try and help as many people as I can worldwide, because who I can help here in reality is just based on my local area, my locality, and the people within a certain radius of that I can service. Anybody outside of that radius, which is, you know, 99.9% of Earth's population, I cannot help locally. It's not possible. But now, using the internet, I'm able to reach out and offer help. But what has happened is a lot of people have gotten addicted to the internet more than to reality, and now they've shifted their entire mindset to technical minutia and anxiety and fears that are completely different from the mindset of the general population that isn't constantly online all the time in technical forums. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an observation that I'm making that makes my job very difficult, because I'm not quite sure why I have to give two different answers to people. So if I tell somebody, like a client, 3 years ago, we don't have to worry about replacing your computers with Windows 11 until, at the very earliest, the summer of 2025. I did not know that there would be extended security updates made available, which is why we weren't making any plans, because I knew that things could change, and I have no idea what they're going to be, and we won't know until we get closer. So to try to, it's like you're trying to dodge enemy fire before your enemy has fired anything at you. So how do you know which way to dodge? You don't. It's just a mental game you're playing, and I don't really find any benefit to that. It doesn't make me any money. It doesn't get anything actually done. And I don't understand why people are so fascinated strictly online that are not fascinated with this in the real world. So I tell my clients, you know, you don't have to worry about this until summer of 2025. And then summer of 2025 comes here, and I say to my clients, are you ready? Or do you want to stay on Windows 10 an extra year? I could not have offered this option to them 3 years ago, and it wouldn't have mattered if I did, because nothing changed. Okay, so I've got one client, for example, that says, look, I'm really busy right now. This isn't a good time. No problem. You don't have to do it right now. Can we do it before October 14th? And by do it, I mean upgrade Windows 10 to Windows 11. I said, you're not going to lose any programs. It's no big deal. It's going to look a little different. But if you really want to stay on Windows 10, we could also, you know, by October 14th, it'd be ideal for us to get those extended security updates, and I'll help you out with that. That's the end of the discussion, right? They tell me what they prefer. But online, it's just over and over and over and over and over. And they're talking about something that hasn't even happened. They're trying to figure out how they're going to deal with it when they don't even know what the consequences and the challenges will be. And they overreact and provide false information to other people, spreading it like a disease. So I tell you this so that I hope you become self-aware to prevent getting an infection. And this toxic information, this toxic fear mongering, and this toxic anxiety spreading is entirely up to you. You are your own inoculation for that. You don't need to jump on the bandwagon and parade about something that doesn't exist. So if you want to, you're not doing anything wrong, but from my perspective, I have actual things in reality to fix, not imaginary things that might break later. So understand that I'm coming from a business perspective because I have to. If I don't make any money. If I don't make any money, all this goes away. Channel goes away, everything goes away. So there's some real serious consequences that don't just affect me. If you enjoy this channel and you want to see it continue to exist, the channel has to financially be able to sustain itself. If it can't, then I have to find another option. And it doesn't help when viewers are persistent with their anxiety. I'm not a psychologist. I don't claim to be. And if people want to go through life without seeking help with that kind of anxiety and panic over things they can't control, you know, it's one thing when it's one person. It's another thing when it's affecting a certain community that, you know, I may not want to be around that community because I don't want that disease. So our community here is fantastic, by the way. You know, all the members and everybody. I'm only talking to the people who know who I'm talking to. They know who they are. And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I'm saying I don't want to be around it. We've been talking about this for 3 years and nothing's changed in 3 years. Not their attitude, not their perception, and not their disease. And they continue to try to infect. And I'm getting tired of deflecting it. It's unreasonable, unjustified, and it's rude. It's very inconsiderate to do that to other people. However, that being said, it's okay if they want to do that. We'll just go separate ways. They can go down the path of anxiety and panic, and I'm going to go down the path of calm, in control, and responding to things that truly exist today, not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, because it'd be very delusional for me to think I can outsmart tomorrow. So anyway, that's the way I see it. All right. So don't buy into it, guys. Don't buy into this nonsense. If you're not getting the ESU update option, you will. When you get to October 1st, if you still don't have it, please let us know and we'll help you out. But until then, you're being impatient and unreasonable. Okay, that's all I want you to know. And when you see other people online complain about it, just know they're being impatient and unreasonable. You don't have to allow yourself to be mentally manipulated in that way if you choose not to. If those people want to do it, that's fine for them. But it's ridiculous, it's rude, it's inconsiderate, and it's way too early. 2 months is way too early to be worried about it. It's just now rolling out. So wait your turn. If you realize you've been skipped over, you don't know that yet. Okay. We all get a turn. All right. Let's see what we got in the chat room. Say hello to everybody joining us. Tell us how you really feel, Carey. I know. But it's at a scale. It's not like one person. It's not like for 1 week. It's just on and on and on for 3 years. For the love of all that's holy. Enough is enough. Dustin Fuller says hello, and Essential Working Too Hard. Joining us along with Eddie Casanova, Mark Gaines, and there's Mara hanging out in the chat, of course. David Graham saying hello. And I also see Eugene Hidalgo joins us. Thomas MacT says hello, along with Richard DeFries. Scott and John Lewis. John joins us from Brazil, says hello. There's Kurt Schlegel joining us, along with Andy W6AD says hello. Welcome in, everybody. Franz Vat says hello. Jim Kenny joining us in the chat. Dayton Pyro says, my PC is so old it won't let me do Windows 11. Trying to build another, but no idea where to begin. Well, it's just up to what your budget is and what it is you want the computer to do. You know who's really good with that is our friend Ask Your Computer Guy. If you visit the Ask Your Computer Guy webpage, YouTube page, he enjoys helping people put systems together based on what they want the system to do and how much money they've got to spend. He offers that for free, and it's explained all on his YouTube page. Or you can pull up any one of his videos, and if you go towards the end of the video, he explains that whole process. He offers that completely for free. You might want to hit him up. Ron Barnish says hello. And John Williams. I also see Wild Soul joining us. And Chris Johnson. Luke Walker says hello. Luke Walker says you can update Windows 11 using Rufus, sidestepping the hardware requirements. Yeah, but what you don't realize is I have it under good authority, and I could be wrong, that all your Windows updates will stop after October 14th if you put it on Windows 10 hardware. When the Windows 10 updates stop, so do the Windows 11 updates that are not compatible. My understanding is the reason you're getting Windows 11 updates now is because Windows 10 is getting updates now. And so while you think you're beating the system, in fact, you're going to get the shaft when Microsoft says your hardware is not compatible, Windows 10 updates have ended, and now your Windows 11 updates will no longer apply any longer. So if you want to go down that road, and I could be wrong, but be prepared for that possibility. Microsoft has made it clear that they intend to stop Windows 11 updates. Just read the disclaimer. If you put this on non-compatible hardware, you may be getting updates today, but there's no promise you will get updates tomorrow. And I do believe it's strictly because Windows 10 has not yet ended support, that if you have a Windows 10 compatible computer but not Windows 11, that's why you're getting the updates. And when those Windows 10 compatible computers stop getting updates, so do the Windows 11 non-compatible computers. Mark my words. Remember I said it. So you can do that if you want to, but be ready. You are much, much safer, more secure online with Windows 10 versus if you take Windows 11 and you disable all the security issues, all of the security requirements to get it onto a non-compatible hardware, you've now made yourself less secure online than you were with Windows 10. And if you're okay with it, knock yourself out. If you're okay with walking across the freeway with busy cars going 80 miles an hour, blindfolded, and you think you can make it across the other side of the street without being hit, I'm not going to stop you. I won't join you, and I don't tell you it's a good idea. And I strongly wouldn't advise you to go online and suggest others do it. But that's just me. Let's see. Steve says, nightmare here. Wife bought a used laptop from Germany. It crashed earlier and reverted to German. Well, you should be able to change the region settings pretty easily in that. The Greenia says he's going to stay away from Leon Lee. I guess he's not getting any response for his RMA request. That's very disappointing. Charlie Purdy is joining us and says hello. Chris Johnson saying hello. Doman 2000 joining us from the Netherlands. Says they're not getting the issue update. It's got to be a staggered rollout. They can't do it all for everybody around the world all on the same day. It's not possible. It's like everybody get in your car right now and get on the road. The road will be all jammed up. Nobody's moving anywhere. So it has to be staggered out. They'll get to you. No reason to worry about it. It's like even if you could turn it on right now, what changes? Nothing, just your mental state. You could change your mental state right now if you chose to. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. Find me in Hawaii with $4.99 in super chat. Right on. Thank you. That's from Ken. Rick Lakes joins us and says hello. And Dazzle555 saying hello there in the chat room. James Carter says hello. He says, I bit the bullet and backed up what I wanted to keep. I wiped Windows 10 and installed Windows 11 last week. I don't know why you would need to wipe Windows 10, but you know, okay. You can put Windows 11 right on top of it and not lose anything. Rick Lakes with a $10 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Rick. David Herzog joins us, says hello. Yeah, fly by 11 is another bad piece of advice there. It is a very risky operating system. It's very unstable and absolutely not supported by Microsoft. If all you're doing is thinking about today, oh, I can get that Windows on today, and I don't care what security issues, Windows update issues, Windows feature issues, or compatibility issues that arise tomorrow, you did that to yourself. So if you want to, you know, self-harm, if you want to go down that road, again, I strongly suggest you keep that to yourself. Because here's what I think should happen. If somebody recommends these unsupported and risky operating systems to other people, and those other people lose any data, lose any time, or lose any money, they should be able to sue you. And if you're not willing to accept that responsibility and accountability, you should not be saying it out loud. They should be able to hold you to a court of law for any losses based on listening to what you have to say. And it doesn't mean they can't. They absolutely can do that in the United States. I could sue anybody because I didn't like anything about them. Now, I'm not saying I'd win, but there's nothing that would prevent me from filing that. Right now, I need the viewers to understand consequences and accountability. When you're listening to somebody online who's giving you really, really bad advice, it is your decision and it is your responsibility to accept your consequences based on your decisions. So I'm not telling you what to do and what not to do, but you need to hold yourself accountable if you listen to people online and that causes you distress, loss of data, loss of finances. But if you lose your job, whatever it is, that's your fault right now for listening to a stranger online. I would love to see that change. I would love for anybody who says anything for advice to others must disclose who they are so that if there are consequences from following their advice, or there has to be some sort of a waiver signed that relieves them of accountability. So right now, anybody can say anything. Freedom to speech, freedom of speech, is freedom to lie. If you want to fight for free speech, and I'm all for it, not all speech is truth. Not all speech is honest. Not all speech is accurate. But everybody can speak. You have to decide who's worth listening to and accept your responsibility for the decisions you're making on who you choose to listen to. That's the world we live in right now. So choose wisely, my friends. The most interesting man on the internet. Choose wisely. James Carter says hello in the chat room. There's Gary Tatum saying hello. Ron Macuro with a £5 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Ron. Delman 2000 says stopping the updates will be too much of a security risk. No, I don't think it will. I will agree to disagree. There's no security that Microsoft has to worry about on your computer. If you were to, for example, if you were to have an original iPhone from Apple, and you put this on the internet, And then as a result, because it's an obsolete product that hasn't had support, you then get your identity stolen or your bank account emptied. You think Apple cares? The reason I bring up that particular example is this really happened. And do you want to know how far it got in the court system? It was shut down almost immediately as the end user being an idiot. That's just common sense. So I don't believe for 1 minute that any sort of security issue would be bad for Microsoft. I think it would be the other way around. But it's for neither you or I, it's speculation. But I can say, you know, being in business and knowing what my liabilities are and seeing what Microsoft has done in the past, I think these entitled users are going to be put in their place. And they're going to get hit with a harsh reality they're not going to like. But let's see, if we type in, let me do a Google search, obsolete iPhone. I'm trying to remember if it was an identity theft or a scam. See if I can find it. Now, when you search for iPhone news, you're probably going to see a lot of stuff about the Apple slowing down the phones to encourage people to buy new ones. They got hit with a big class action on that. But you know, their payout was like $25 per user that applied. So, you know, your $1,000 you spent on your iPhone, oh good, you get $25. That's your justice. But let me see. I'm going to find it. It was a particular story, one person. It's such a specific story. I'm trying to think what a keyword is to find it. But essentially, this phone still works, you know, so they put it back in service only to have some kind of a fraud occur to them. I can't remember if it was an identity theft or, let me see, obsolete iPhone causes security. Maybe I need to hit the news tab. Well, I can search for it later, but essentially what ended up happening is these people, this family, sued Apple, claiming the product was unsafe. Apple had, as far as I know, the lawsuit was dismissed. Apple's response was you're using an obsolete product that you had no business putting back online, and you were a fool to do it. To think anything other than being a fool is being unreasonable. And the court sided with Apple. Now I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure it wasn't phrased that harshly, but that is exactly what they said when you read between the lines. And the court agreed with them. The end user was being unreasonable. And any ordinary person would know not to do that. I think as far as security goes, I think Microsoft is on, they don't have anything to worry about. You know, something else to consider. Microsoft is now a $4 trillion company, the likes of which seen by NVIDIA, Microsoft, and I think Apple's very close behind. That can get you some really good attorneys. They're on payroll anyway. Those attorneys are getting paid the same. Doesn't matter. They're full-time attorneys. They don't charge Microsoft by the hour. They are full-time employees. And even if all of this were to happen, still wouldn't make a drop in the bucket to Microsoft. So there are sometimes fines and penalties associated to companies for not following strict guidelines. But most of the time, what I've seen, the companies make a lot more profit and end up just giving like 10% of the profit in fines. So I don't know how that discourages. In other words, if Microsoft basically if they shut off updates, which I believe they are going to do to Windows 11 on non-compatible hardware, they're going to make more money in the sales of new computers than any amount of fine would even come close to matching. Wouldn't even be a break even. It would be profitable for them to do it.
Good email.
And I have email. So again, it's all speculation. I could be very wrong. But here's the difference, the way I see it. If you take that risk and I'm right, that's on you. If I don't take that risk and I'm wrong, it doesn't affect me either way. See what I'm saying? If you don't take the risk, then that consequence is not possible. If you do take the risk, you're rolling dice. And you might say, oh, I got a good feeling these dice are going to come up and the number I want. Maybe they will. But what if they don't? Are you okay with that? Because right now it's 50-50. So you choose your path that fits you. And if you're working for other people and you're guiding them like this, prepare for those consequences, and you can be sued in the United States if you're responsible. If people paid you and you put Windows 11 on hardware that's not supported, and now they've had any sort of financial loss, they can absolutely hold you accountable in a professional business. So I don't toy around with that stuff. That's home user stuff. It's like the children's playground at the park. I don't play on it anymore. I just feel like I'm too old for that. But I'm not telling you you can't. If you want to go on the playground, it's a silly way to break your arm because you're on the monkey bars, but you're an adult. If you didn't know any better by now, I'm not the one with the broken arm. Chris Johnson sends an Amazon gift card. He says, hello, Carey and Mara. Here's a little something for upcoming content. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Chris, for a very generous Amazon gift card. We appreciate you very much. And thanks to all the members, too, for making this channel possible. It's quite fascinating to see the difference of opinion on the internet versus reality. When I talk to people in reality, they don't want Windows updates to potentially stop working. They don't want to have to potentially have to reinstall all over again. They have other things to do. They've got profit to make. They've got customers to help. They can't afford this gamble. They want to save $1 today that might cost them $1,000 tomorrow. How does that make any sense? They want to spend a reasonable amount today so they don't have to spend money tomorrow, if at all possible. So the business I'm in is in getting people set up properly to avoid any computer downtime from viruses, file corruption, file maintenance, optimization, Windows updates, drivers updates, proper backups. This is what I do for a living. Now imagine you walk up to somebody like me and you say, I don't make backups and I still run an old computer. What kind of response do you're going to, think about who you're talking to. You should expect, if you don't expect me to push back, then you have no respect for what I do for a living. And then if that's the case, I don't know what you're hoping to gain from my videos, but you're all welcome to be here. I just find it bizarre. But that's all right. People are people. Sometimes people have to make their own mistakes. But it's one thing to say you didn't know. It's another thing to have been warned and you did it anyway. We'll see how it plays out. Either way, I'm okay with it. I'm good. I'm not taking any unnecessary risk to save $10. It's ridiculous. All right, let's see. Where was I in the chat room? Peter joins us from Amsterdam. And there's Dave Leonard says hello. There's Morta to joining us. Who else do we have in here? Eugene wants to know if I could use Copilot for searching the Apple case. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how accurate it'll be. Marvin Jenkins says, got in late. I like the case. What kind is it? That's our Thermaltake case. I liked it too until I worked on it. It's one of the worst cases I've ever worked on. One of the worst coolers as far as installation goes because of the case. And the absolute worst LCD screen and most expensive with the worst software. That's all made by Thermaltake. So it does look good. So does a hot dog. Might even taste good, but you don't want to see how it's made. It's just well below regular industry standards from competitors and overpriced. So I don't know how much worse it gets. But at least it looks good. I'll give you that. Andy says, I don't see the big deal about it. If you have a computer so old it won't support Windows 11, it's time for a new computer. Or it's time to switch to Linux. Like if you don't like Windows, why are you using it? On the other hand, if you want to go out to the enemy's battlefield, we call the internet, with a sharpened stick, because that's all you needed to defend yourself 300 years ago or whatever, and you're so delusional and disconnected from reality that you think it's a good idea that you're going to enter a modern battlefield with a sharpened stick and that you're going to be okay against laser-guided missiles that your enemy is using, it's nice knowing you. So just understand the madness that's around us, how people will dig their heels in to fight for their ignorance and then try and get people on their side as though repeating it over and over will make it true. I keep repeating over and over, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Will you help me? Maybe if more of us say Carey is a millionaire, maybe when I check my bank account, I'll have $1 million in it. Because if that's how reality works, boy, am I an idiot. Here I was working and trying to earn the money when all I had to do was just keep repeating false information until it became true and other people agreed with me. That is the world we live in today, folks. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Carey is a millionaire. Come on, everybody say it. I just want to make sure I'm not the delusional one. Just try it out. I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Bagman wants to know, has anybody ever used a motherboard with an MSI Easy M.2 clip? How the heck to remove them from the standoff? To use a screw with a third-party M.2 screw. I got it secured right now with the clip. What is an MSI Easy M2 clip? Have we shown one of those on the channel? Why would you need to remove the clip from the standoff to use a screw with a third-party M.2 heatsink? Let's ask Copilot. See what Copilot says. If you're looking to remove the clip itself, this may require unscrewing or unclipping it from the motherboard. MSI does not typically recommend removing the clip unless you're going to replace it with another clip. So the reason why that's not really a thing is nobody needs to do that. You are voluntarily choosing to remove something that was put there to help you. Not many people would want to do that. And I'm not sure why you're making this choice. You are trying to revert back to something back in time, and you're trying to do some work that isn't necessary.
So that's a really interesting perspective you have, that you would want to go backwards in time and undo the thing that makes it easier and simplifies installation removal. You want to get rid of that because you spent more money on a heatsink that you shouldn't need, that won't fit on because of the clip. In my experience, I mean, and you're free to do it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you just bought a new motherboard and now you want to rewind it back to the state of previous motherboards and remove the benefit of, or at least one of the benefits that the new motherboard offers you. You're hurting yourself. And you spend money to do it. You didn't need to spend. But in my experience, if you buy an SSD that already has a heatsink on it, you won't have this issue. Also, depending on which MSI motherboard you have, those quick disconnects often have their own heatsinks you're supposed to keep. You're not supposed to use a third-party heatsink. It's not going to look as good, and it definitely won't work as well on the NVMe drives. So if your MSI board has like a secondary NVMe with this quick clip, and you're trying to add a drive to it that requires a heatsink but didn't come with one, I don't think you need the heatsink. Not only that, most heatsinks, well, many heatsinks attach to the NVMe drive. They don't attach anywhere else, so it's going to leave that little half moon shape. The SSD attaches to the where that little half moon shape is at the end, and the heatsink attaches to the SSD. One should not have anything to do with the other. I'm having a very hard time trying to understand what you're explaining because it doesn't make any sense. There's no heatsink I'm aware of that fits on top of the NVMe drive where it gets in the way of the NVMe drive securing with the easy clips, like where you have to use a screw. I've never seen that in my life. The only time I've ever seen that is when the motherboard comes with the heat sinks and the heat sinks sit on top of the easy clips. And of course, that's all, you just put it back the way it was. You put your NVMe drive in, and then the heat sink secures on top of that to the motherboard standoffs. But otherwise, with that exception, where a motherboard comes with it, it's nothing you add to a board. It's something you add to an NVMe. It doesn't change the install of the NVMe at all. Regardless if you're screwing it down, clipping it down, I'm confused. So I want to help you, but I can't picture what you're describing. It doesn't, you're like talking about two different things and they don't go together. So I don't know why you're trying to put them together. Or if I had a better understanding of which NVMe drive, which heatsink, and which motherboard specifically, and which slot you're using, maybe I could visualize it, but I can't even imagine how that would be a thing. Bikeman said this board didn't have heat sinks. You're saying you bought it new or you bought it used? So you still haven't told me the make and model of the motherboard, so I can't visualize. I don't understand. You bought a used board that didn't include, like it was supposed to when it was new, and when you got it, it didn't have it? Peter mentions he uses the 980 Pro NVMe drive where it comes with the heatsink already attached. It installs. You don't have to add a heatsink separately. It installs like any other NVMe drive. Same with any drive that comes with a heatsink. Western Digital Blacks, ADATA. If you buy it with the heatsink on it, it's no issue. I'm really confused right now. You can even buy third-party heatsink. Most NVMe heatsinks attach to the SSD. There's not a heatsink that you attach to the motherboard unless it came with the motherboard. No such thing exists. Only if it came with the board. So if you bought a used motherboard that didn't come with the heatsinks, then you should contact MSI and get the heatsinks. Or use an NVMe drive that comes with its own heatsink, or add a heatsink to an NVMe drive. You don't add a heatsink to the motherboard
unless it's the one that the motherboard came with. Maybe that's where we're confused. Ah, here we go. Okay, he says the motherboard's an MSI Pro B650. Did you buy the board new? Chris Garrett joins us and says hello. Frank Jimmy says, I would not install Windows 11 on any customer computer that the PC Health Check app says is not compatible. It's two different worlds, Frank. You got the world of people that are getting paid to perform a service that could lose their business, and you got people at home playing. And, you know, how do you compare these two things? How do you compare going to work every day where there are consequences if you don't show up, if you don't do your job, you lose your job, you lose your money, you're potentially homeless, with somebody sitting at home just tinkering and playing? They're like, we're talking about two, in our audience, we have two different kinds of audience. But the thing is, I'm not an enthusiast. I work as a tech. So if you're watching my channel and you're expecting a sandbox to play in, that's what the enthusiast channels do. We're not here to add to that saturation. I'm here to offer the alternative for people that really take this seriously and, you know, have something to lose. So when somebody has nothing to lose and they come in and they're promoting that, you understand that people like Frank, myself, Mark Leibowitz, the audience I'm really going for here are the people who take this stuff seriously and potentially have a business and have something seriously to lose, like their careers, because there are consequences when people are paying you for services and you're making personal decisions for them that, you know, when you're doing it on your own just because you want to play or you're willing to risk what you have, that's your business. That's uniquely you. No one else will pay the consequences for your decisions other than you in that scenario, and that's not what I'm here for. There's no point in my channel. If you're just going to do what you're going to do anyway and to be damned with consequences, I don't know why this channel would exist. It would be, what's the point? But there are two others, you know, there's two sides, right? There's the side of us that, you know, encouraging people to reduce their statistical likelihood of being hacked or losing data, losing security. The side where people might want to go into business and fix computers because they really enjoy it and they want to know what to be prepared for, so that you know, once you find out those details, you may not want to do it anymore. It might take the fun out of it for you, or it might have the opposite effect. It might be like, wow, I can get paid to do this and have fun and protect people. And then you've got people who just want to play. And there's plenty of YouTube videos for people who want to play. We're not one of those. When it comes to that sort of thing, there's way too much at risk. You're not going to get a job at a hospital and start experimenting around with software on the heart and lung machine or the kidney dialysis machine. People will die. You will likely end up in jail. And that's true. If that's not your job, then you can laugh it off. That's fine. Other people are too busy working, earning a living to care. They don't care. They got a job to do. All right. Where was I here? Oh, I was going to look that motherboard up. Motherboard MSI Pro B650 BC Wi-Fi. Okay, let's see if I can copy. No, it's not going to let me copy it. Wait, maybe I can copy it over here. Maybe I'll just search for it. MSI B650 VC Wi-Fi. VC Wi-Fi revision 1. Let's see, what is the VC? Well, this looks like a nice board. Let's go to window capture. We can share this with everybody. There it is. Okay. Pro B650 VC Wi-Fi is designed with tons of little tools, convenient Wi-Fi solution, DDR5.
There is no heatsink here, but there's a hole in the top for one. There's no heatsink down here. Is that all it has, is two NVMe slots, two M.2s? Thermal solution. Not there. Interesting about it, talks about thermals and cooling, but there's no heatsink on this board. The Gen 4 PCIe represents, okay, it's only Gen 4. And those high-end Gen 4s do need heatsinks, but not nearly as bad as a Gen 5, but that's a non-issue here. Let's do a search for M.2 heatsink option. Oh, put that on the wrong page. Let me go back. M.2 heatsink options. It appears this model might not come with heatsinks for all M.2 slots. According to this discussion, you have a few options. You can use an aftermarket heatsink, choose an M.2 with an integrated, or check the specific. Your motherboard doesn't have heatsinks for both M.2 slots because using the slot. Okay, but you don't have a heatsink on that board. So yeah, it kind of takes me back to what I was originally saying, which is, oh, wait a minute, hold on. This is a different model of board. If we just click on what this M.2 heatsink looks like, you see how the heatsink, it doesn't matter which one we look at. Every single one of them attaches to the NVMe drive. So the NVMe drive is going to go into that slot, either slot. Every single one of these that you're looking at, even if you may not have the height, for something ridiculous, these will all fit in the same. At no point does it require a screw. None of these require a screw. So essentially, take any pick of heatsink you want, or buy an NVMe drive that already has a heatsink on it, like this Lexar. Regardless, it still plugs in this side with no screw, and then this half moon shape right here, that's where your clip is just gonna lock it in. Regardless if it's this, or all of that install is exactly the same. So again, if I'm still not understanding, I don't know what the possible problem could be why you think you need a screw. And nope, none of these heatsinks require a screw.
Email.
Oh, I've got email again?
Gee, why else am I here?
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, I was just puzzled by this. I don't understand it. These drives will fit in no differently. Whether they have a heatsink or not, they go in exactly the same. So I'm confused. All right, let me go back to camera one. But yeah, I mean, if there's something I'm not getting, please tell me, because it's gone over my head. Computer Lens said he's rebuilding a business computer, and he's reusing the case but putting new computer parts in it. Oh, I've done my share of that. I actually enjoy that. I really, I like the idea that we're not having to replace parts we don't need to. So power supplies and cases, normally on a business client, we can reuse that same case for 15 or 20 years. Same power supply in many cases too. And we just changed the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and storage. So if they had a mechanical drive or a SATA SSD, we yank that. So we're basically taking all these individual components out. And by the way, if they still had a DVD drive, we leave that in. Why not, right? All the motherboards still have SATA ports. I just keep the DVD drive in, even if they're not using it, just keep it in there. And the downside is the older cases don't have like USB 3 maybe. They certainly don't have a Type-C, but none of my business clients have requested that. And oftentimes the new motherboards do have all of that on the back of the board if they need it. It's just not conveniently up front.
And of course, we can resolve that. If they want to pay money for that, we can take care of it. But the advantage of a new case is obviously you're going to have the latest ports up front. Usually, not always. Some new cases, they only give you one port up front, which sucks. And you're actually better off where the older case is more versatile. So, yeah. Gary Tatum says he's a tinkerer. Hey, nothing wrong with being a tinkerer. It's just when tinkerers advise other people to tinker in a way that could have serious consequences without mentioning that part of it, that's where I feel a little offended. Like, how dare you tell somebody it's okay to eat Tide Pods? And people were doing that, right? Without explaining the potential danger of what can happen, like an emergency room visit or dying. They left that part out. You see that on TikTok challenges all the time. You know, kick in somebody's door for fun. Yeah, and you might get shot. You know, is the person making the recommendation to inspire these people to blame? Or are these people who are making bad decisions, who are allowing themselves to be influenced by a moron to blame? And I do think that the people who are offering advice to others should be held accountable. And if they're not willing to accept that accountability, they shouldn't be offering the advice. But that's just my feeling. It's not the law, unless money is being exchanged and they're paying you. So right now, if you're not getting paid for something, for the most part in the United States, you don't have accountability for it, with exceptions. That's the general rule. You can't claim to be a customer if you never bought anything. So customers have rights. Regular citizens don't have the same rights customers have when it comes to expectations in a business transaction. Bikeman says, oh, okay, I'll relax then in this case. Yeah, like, you haven't tried to put an NVMe in it yet? You're just speculating, you're like imagining it in your head? Because if you get one, it should just snap in. Like, that's why I'm confused. I'm making the assumption you're having some difficulty doing it, but it seems now maybe you're having some difficulty imagining it. If you actually go to do it, it should be very obvious and clear. But if not, let us know. We're here to help. I can't imagine it either, the way you describe it. But hopefully, once you get your hands on it, I'm assuming you haven't, you'll realize it doesn't make any difference. And if I'm wrong, let us know. Gregory Howard joins us and says hello. Welcome in, Gregory. There's John Downey and Luke Greenia. Luke says he loved the Project Zero build from the day it was made, but even though it's getting a few unneeded upgrades, I still love this build. I'm so glad I talked myself into purchasing it. Yeah, well, me too. I'm glad it went to a great home, and it's being cared for meticulously. So we're glad that you enjoy it, and that it's not sitting here collecting dust, that somebody's actually using it. It's fantastic. Rupen wants to know what's your opinion on the case change. Yeah, so again, it's a terrible case. It's so bad. The screen is so bad. Thermaltake support is so bad. And their install is so bad. You won't see any more Thermaltake products on this channel. The only thing I will potentially buy from Thermaltake is their power supplies. If there's one I need that suits the budget and the wattage requirements, at least they can't screw that up. But they screwed up the cooler, they screwed up the screen, they screwed up the cable, they screwed up the case, and they charged a pretty penny for all the screw-ups. And if I were you, I'd stay the hell away from Thermaltake products. Unless they change management and they get a different attitude and they start building better quality, it's, in my opinion, way overpriced.
and it goes together like a company never ever knew how to design a case before. Like they never tried it themselves. Because if the people who engineered this put this together the way they claim it goes, and they still wanted to stay employed with Thermaltake, that they had no dignity and no integrity, I think they'd lose a lot of engineers if they actually tried to put this together in Thermaltake. If the company expressed no interest in fixing it, I'd quit. But, you know, most people just go, I don't care, they pay me. If that's what they want, I'll do it. But they never buy that. Like, they're not going to buy this and take it home and build it. Very unlikely. They know what they built. They know how crappy it is. The fact that they would do that and not quit tells you a lot about the attitude of the employees. And that's usually representative of the entire company. So that doesn't typically stay that way. There could be management changes, or the company could get bought out. But usually it results in poor sales, right? And then the company has to react to make things better, or they get bought out or go out of business. So here's hoping they will put pride back into the quality of what they're selling, because they lost it. I don't know what happened to it. They were getting better and better, and then all of a sudden they took a big U-turn and they're going backwards now. That's where I get out of the car. You know, I'm not going any further backwards with you guys, and you'll go without me. So no more Thermaltake products on the channel until further notice. If they decide they want to turn the car back around and head back in the original direction, I'll jump back in. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not waiting for them to decide. Do not recommend this case, or any case from Thermaltake, and certainly not their digital screens. They're terrible, and their software is even worse. Google it. See what people on Reddit have to say about Thermaltake's 3.9-inch screen software. You'll be a while. It is what it is. And, oh, check the email. Check the email. Mark Gaines is reminding me. Thank you. Let's see, emails. Oh, Mark Gaines with a $50 PayPal contribution said, here's a few dollars for the channel. Right on. Thank you, Mark. Cheers. Mark joining us from Northern Ireland. So I don't know how many times I keep telling people, this is now 16 or 17, that the SCD Keys site is being upgraded and it's not available right now. And if people are looking to buy Windows or Office keys, email us. And nobody hears me. Well, let me rephrase. There are viewers, people that claim to be viewers, who obviously haven't seen a video of mine in 2 weeks, or they're not paying any attention. And they're asking me what happened to SCD keys. Do you have any idea how frustrating this is for me? And I've told people, and I've asked people for what, 4, 5, 6 months now, stop messaging me directly. Stop sending me Facebook messages. If it's channel related, I need all the channel related email to go to createshowcase@gmail.com. If you want a fast answer and you want to make sure I get it, this is how we're able to control the influx of emails. And yet the same people asking me what happened to SCD keys are the same people not sending it to the right email address, or they're reaching out to me in a way that I've asked people not to do. Now, if you're in my shoes, do you say, what's the point in responding? If they didn't listen to me the first dozen times, why do I have to keep repeating it? Why do they call themselves viewers when it's obvious they're not watching? And if they're not watching, then what makes me think they're going to read my response? So I'm getting a little frustrated with this, because it's like, what else can I do? I've set out a buffet table. You've got a plate. There's all the food. Take what you want, right? This is what everything is. These are the ingredients. And then somebody walks up and says, what's at the buffet table? Well, it's just right there. I already said what was on the buffet table. Anyway, it's just one of the frustrating things. I'm trying to resolve it so I don't have to keep running around in circles. I don't want to be rude, but I feel like they're being rude to me. Like, I haven't listened to anything you've said, but I have a question. Okay, I've answered your question 15 times.
if you listened to what I said. You wouldn't be asking the question. How is that not rude? Anyway, maybe I read too much into it. It's too much. It's not like it's one person. They just keep coming in, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm a viewer. No, you're not. You clearly used to be, but you haven't been in some time. And if you would have bothered to even check the latest videos, you would have already answered your own question, but that would be too much effort on your part. You're just going to reach out to me directly in a way that I asked you not to ask me a question I've already answered 24 times. And you don't realize how many other people are doing that. I know, I could just delete the messages. It's just, I do want to help people, but I've already helped them. They didn't listen. They want it spoon-fed. I want you to go to the buffet table. I want you to tell me what you have, get the food for me, and then I want you to cut it and feed it to me. I do that for a fee. But it's free if you just go help yourself. It's right there. Anyway, it kind of gets at a certain scale, right? If it's one person, if it's two people, but when it starts getting to be a lot of people, maybe the answer is to just write a response and copy and paste it. Eugene says, what happened to the lady in South America that several years back offered advice on computers to anyone that asked for her? I don't know what happened to her. You know something I don't know? Or you think I know something? How would I know? We have 410,000 subscribers. They come and they go. I have no idea. David Graham with a $2 super chat. What do you think about my network solution? If you're referring to the email you sent about what you had to do to get your network working, I don't have an opinion because I don't know. You never allowed me to see it. You never allowed me to remote connect to it. And I don't know if everything you did was necessary. So based on that, if you got it working and it works acceptable to you, well done. I don't know. Did you do everything that was necessary? Did you do unnecessary work? I don't know. But at the end of the day, if it works and you're happy, I'm happy. I'm glad you got it figured out. Samsung Way says, are you willing to build someone a PC? Yeah, I mean, it depends where you live and what you want built. Stuff like that needs to be handled privately. These private business transactions, you know, we don't stand up in front of a stage and make sales. But if you want to reach out to our email address and let us know what it is, where you live, you've got to be in the United States. If you're willing to pay an additional $200 for the shipping cost on top of what the parts cost, I can't control that. That's what it is for FedEx, at least if you live on the East Coast. Whatever the cost of parts is, you're going to add another $200 for shipping right now. And it will take 7 days. That is the cheapest, slowest shipping is 7 days from Phoenix to, say, the East Coast of the United States. If you live anywhere else, like west of the Mississippi, shipping may be a few dollars less, and the length of time it'll take will be a few days less. Most people today find this unacceptable and don't want me to build computers anymore. But if you're okay with that, let us know what it is you want to have built and what your budget, what you want to have built, what your budget is. We love doing that. So it just financially doesn't make any sense for most people. You know, when you can get the parts shipped for free from Amazon and get them in 2 days versus what we have to do to get it packed and shipped is two very different things. But our email address, I was going to put that on the screen. It's right there, showcasecreate@gmail.com. And that's the best way to reach us. And if you don't get a response from us within 24 hours, you probably misspelled the email address, just so you know. Usually, Mara's right on top of that. You'll usually get a response within minutes, but up to 24 hours in the worst case.
Beyond 24 hours, we never got your email. So that's the best way to reach us regarding any personal matters, whether it's computer sales or, we have some machines built here we're trying to find buyers for. But when you add the shipping cost on them, it just doesn't make any sense to not just order the parts and do it yourself. And like I said, there's just not much we can do. USPS is not an option for us. UPS, we've had too many things arrive broken, and it costs more money than FedEx. FedEx is the most reliable and the cheapest in my experience. DHL is fine for international, but for local, it's not even worth considering. There's so much more money. So that's the scenario. Now, if people are local and they want to pick a machine up, hey, all that expense goes away. So we're always open to that too. Lou Greenia says you should enlighten the viewers what it cost me to ship Project Zero to Luke from Phoenix to Vermont. He says, talk about price shock. Luke and I were both shocked. And then when it got there, the fan came loose. Just a regular AMD CPU stock cooling fan broke free of the spindle. And thankfully, no damage occurred, but the fan was loose. It was no longer attached. So Luke opened up the case, took the glass panel off, grabbed the fan, and pushed it back on the spindle. And it's got a little C-clip that clips it in, and it's fine. But you spend all that money, $200 plus. What was it, 220? You wait 7 days, and then I think they still delivered it late. I think it took like 9 days. It was supposed to take 7, if I recall, and they delayed it for some reason. Could be weather, I don't know. And then he gets it, and the fan's not attached anymore. This wouldn't happen if I delivered it personally, but it would cost me $1,000 to put it in the car and drive it out there and drive back home. And 8 days of driving. And 7 nights of hotel rooms at $100 a pop at a cheap hotel. Yeah, it'd be over $1,000. So yeah, shipping things that big and heavy, it risks damage. It's slow, and it's expensive. David Graham says, I can now see everything on every computer, from every computer. Yeah, as long as you got it working, good on you. Jim Meyer says, hello. Welcome in, Jim. David Graham with $2 says, I had to learn to fish. Each computer was different. The only reason each computer would be different would be if the end user on those computers made changes. So if for example, I had an office building and they had 4 different computers, all 4 computers would require exactly the same thing. If they're all Windows 11, they would all require the same changes. But if they had somebody else tinkering with it, trying to get it to work, and they made changes over here, they made different changes over there, now my job becomes multiple times harder because I have to untangle the web of mess that somebody toying around has created. So that is one of the frustrations that I have, and of course I bill for it. I go, look, if you hadn't screwed all this up sideways, I'd have had this done an hour and a half ago. But now I have to figure out what the end user did, undo that, just to get the machine back to how it was before they did anything. And once it's in that shape, then I can make the exact same changes across the board. Windows networking is not magic. It does not change based on the computer. It does change based on how deeply the end user gets in and starts monkeying around with things that, in an attempt to fix it, they make it worse. And we have to now fix multiple things. And how many multiple things depends on how long the user has been monkeying with it. And rarely does the end user monkey with them the same way. Now, this is a way to learn, don't get me wrong, but it's not, I don't want to clean up that mess
And that's not normal. That's not to say that, you know, I was born knowing this or that I didn't go through the same process in learning it. But you need to understand that, with the exception of maybe a driver update, that would be the only difference that should change with any sort of setup requirement for sharing a Windows-based Windows 10 or 11 network. They are all the same. But what's not the same is what an end user has done in an attempt to get that working. And it's not obvious. We have to sort of work our way backwards. And as we work backwards, we start seeing the obstacles. And then we can start putting things back the way it was before the end user changed it. Once we can figure out, okay, now it's back to the way it was, now it's easy to set up. So I think setting up Windows networking is very, very simple, and it's always the same. However, what end users do to their machines, Lord only knows. And it could be one little tweak you got to undo. Most of the time, it's like a dozen. Sometimes you just got to reinstall Windows. You go, look, whatever you did, it's so screwed up. It'll just be faster to reinstall Windows, put it back to defaults, and I can get your network up and running in 3 minutes. Easy. So hopefully, now that you've got the experience of being successful, you know what didn't work. And if you try to do that again, likely it's 3 minutes. It's no big deal. But, you know, that's how we learn. There's no shame in that. Got to start somewhere. Cajun Apps, Cajun Pap says hello, welcome in. Mr. Big Van Life says hello. Andy Kane joining us. Tim Cruz says hello. Mark Gaines said he received a gift from a friend in Canada who sent him a gift from Canada to Northern Ireland. He said it cost me £100 ransom tariff from Northern Ireland's import fees. That's how tariffs work. We can't know what your tariffs will be. There's no way to predict it. It varies per country. But what doesn't vary is the process. You send your product to that country. That country's customs will determine an import fee based on what category, you know, computers versus whatever value. They then send the recipient a notification. Hey, this is customs. We have a package here for you. You need to pay this amount of money to release the package within 30 days, or the package gets sent back to the sender, and the sender will not be refunded the shipping cost that they spent to get it there. That's why it's a ransom. Countries don't want you bringing in items from other countries. They want you buying from your own country. And even though this was a gift and you didn't buy it, they'd much prefer if the person in Canada ordered the gift in Ireland and then shipped it from Ireland to Ireland. So if they ordered a gift at Amazon.co, I don't know, .ca, and asked Amazon to ship it to Ireland, what Ireland would prefer is if the person sending the gift would go to the recipient's country, order it from a local seller in the recipient's country, and then you can avoid all the taxes and tariffs on it. Not the taxes, the tariffs. Countries are trying to keep the money and the labor and the product inside of their own country. They don't want to send their money to the US. They don't want to send it to Scotland. They don't want to send it outside of it. They want people to buy from each other and have their own economy independently as much as possible. And for those who insist, they're going to charge a fee for that. And every country does it. Super Steel Wolf says, I have a question. A computer with Windows 10, I want to install Windows 11. What would be best? Clean install or update? Whatever you think is best. For some people, what's best is a clean install. For other people, what's best is an update. The great thing about doing an update from Windows 10 to Windows 11 is for whatever reason, if you don't like it, you can always do the clean install. But if you do the clean install, you'll never know what difference the update would have made with regards to time and effort for drivers and software reinstallation, printers and email setups. So, I mean, if it were me, logically, it cost me nothing to do the update. That's probably all you're going to need to do. But if for any reason that's not working, then the second option in this order would be to do the clean install. But I mean, that's just critical thinking, right? It's very logical when you think about it. But there is no right or wrong answer to that. It's just really up to the end user and their personal preferences and tolerances. Charlie Purdy said, in the future, can you do a segment on tail scale? I watched a YouTube short that seems very, very interesting. So the problem, Charlie, is tail scale involves a lot of private information, and that would be very difficult for me to film without exposing vulnerabilities that people who don't like me could use to attack me. I know that's hard to believe, there's people who don't like me, but I have stalkers, I'll have you know. Get your own. These are mine. I like toying with them. It brings me joy. But what I can do, though, is tell you how I learned about tail scale. There's 2 great websites that have gone through this front to back, where even if I did the video, it wouldn't be as good as theirs. The original video that I watched, that I learned about tail scale, is from Space Rex, and it's fully detailed, and it's just really well done. And if I type into YouTube Space Rex space tail scale, I'm likely going to pull that video up. There it is right here. Now, let me share the screen. Where's my... There. This is Space Rex. Complete tail scale guide, VPN without port forwarding on a Synology NAS. Now this is specific to setting up tail scale, you know, the hub of it, which is universal, to the endpoint destination, which in this case is Synology. If you want to set up endpoint on something else, Network Chuck can get into the weeds on this if you really are into that. And this is not it. Keeps talking about TwinGate. I don't know what TwinGate is. I ditched traditional VPN for tail scale, and you should too. Oh, that's Two Guys Tech. I haven't watched any of these. These might be great. I don't know. I wonder if TwinGate is based on or uses tail scale. Yeah, I don't know what TwinGate is. I've never heard of it. But as you can see, if you look through our search results, I mean, there's a lot of content creators that are covering multiple ways of they're using tail scale. I'm just using it for Synology, period, because my clients all have Synology. This person a year ago, Tech Docs. This might be a good video. You don't know who this is. 4 years ago. Wow, that's old. I'd look for something a little newer. Lawrence Systems usually does some pretty good videos if you're really into the technical side of things, like the home lab side. So, but I learned it from Space Rex. And I thought his video was right up the alley for what I needed, which was connecting to a Synology without exposing the Synology to the internet. And tail scale's free. The downside, I suppose if there's a downside and it's really for security, is that about every 6 months, I have to log into the Synology and reauthorize it on tail scale. This is done to ensure that somebody hasn't quit or abandoned that Synology.
So after 6 months, if you haven't reauthorized it back on Tailscale, it's not on Tailscale until you do. So bear that in mind. It's all completely free. It's 100% secure. And it really solved a problem for me where I need to update the backups. And usually that requires me getting in the car and driving to the customers, running a file synchronization between the Synology and the external drive. Then I unplug the external drive and take it home. Well, now using Tailscale on the Synology and on the computer I use here for working, I simply run the file synchronization software the same as I do at the client's office, only instead of choosing the C drive, I choose its IP address through Tailscale and say I want to go from this IP address to my external drive and synchronize them. And my file synchronization software works exactly the same. Now, it's about 75 times slower, but what do I care? I set it to go at night, let it run. In the morning, I check it. It's all updated. I click OK. It cost me nothing. I didn't have to get in the car and drive there and drive back. And at the end of the day, that encourages me to do backups more frequently. Heck, I can even automate them. I still choose to do it by hand so I can watch it and keep an eye on it. Even if watching it and keeping an eye on it means starting it and then making sure it ends correctly without errors. And it really works well for me. Like, that is a big problem solver for me. Now, if my client has 2 million files that have to synchronize before it can determine the differences, yeah, I'm definitely going to let that run overnight. It'll still do it. It's going to take probably 15 hours, but I still don't have to get in the car and drive there and back. So what do I care? And it's not like I can't use the computer for anything else. I do it at night because, well, I don't see any point not to. But I could still use the computer for everything I use the computer for and just leave it on when I'm done so that process running in the background can complete. And when it's done, I just verify it completed properly and backups are updated, not costing me the time in the car or the gas money. Yeah, it's a real good problem solver for me. I love it. But that's just one way of using Tailscale. You can use it 1,000 different ways. Charlie says, thanks for the info. I'll check it out. Yeah, and then if you have any questions after that, if it's related to Tailscale and Synology, I probably know the answer. If it's related to Tailscale and anything else, I probably don't know because I don't use it for anything else. But feel free to ask. If I know the answer or can find an answer, I'll certainly provide it. Lynn's Music says hello. Welcome in, Glenn's Music. It's been a while. Jim says, I've been happy with Tailscale. It really helps when I leave my cave. Well, and if you weren't happy with it, you could just uninstall it. It's free. So that's the great thing, right? If you say, oh, Tailscale's crap. Well, didn't cost you anything. That's the worst case. It was free. All right. I love it. I think it's great. And I would pay money for it. Appreciate the suggestion, Charlie, but I just kind of feel like, yeah, that's already been done, and they did a really good job. Luke Greenia says, networking scares the heck out of me. Anything you're not familiar with, you won't be comfortable with. You got to make yourself uncomfortable first if you ever want to be comfortable. Otherwise, how would you know the difference? But if it's not important to you, it's fine too. Robert Jones says, Carey, I'm having a lot of trouble going to SCD keys. It's almost as though we talked about this just about 20 minutes ago, about how people don't watch the videos. And then you just literally did exactly what I asked people not to do, who claim to watch my videos, who aren't watching my videos, and repeating what all the other people who don't watch my videos are doing. There it is. There's a live example. What do you do? Just ignore them? I don't know. If I've already answered it 24 times, why do I think answering it some more is going to make any difference? We literally just talked about how annoying that is. And then he just did it. What are you going to do if you're me? What do you do? Paul Verger said, I'm really enjoying the channel. You must be a glutton for punishment, Paul, because I'm so frustrated today. No, I appreciate you. Thank you, Paul. Billy Man says, my new Synology 1825 Plus is almost done syncing. I also pinned the storage manager to the desktop. When you did that in your stream, it blew my mind. Yeah, isn't it great? I don't know why it's not on there by default, but it's super easy to add it. I'm telling you, we're loving that 1825. Man, oh man, it's wicked to see all these lights. They're just like 8 lights all blinking on and off. I feel like I'm in some kind of Star Trek episode. LRCX says, hello, Carey. I did the Windows 11 update after cloning my Windows 10. So just in case I could restore Windows 10. Yeah, it's a great plan. It's working good, but I need to get used to a few things that are different. This is from the PC that I built back in 2021. Oh yeah, it'll easily run Windows 11, no problems. And like anything else new, you get comfortable, you'll get accustomed. It's like you got a new pair of shoes, you got to break them in. You can't say, oh, this new pair of shoes, I like them, but they're not as comfortable. Well, keep wearing them. You'll break them in, and you'll see what you've been missing out on. It's really not that big of a deal. Scott wants to know, always asking somebody else in the chat room, do you think it's possible to change and upgrade a motherboard on my old Dell? Some Dells you can and some Dells you can't. Some Dells have a proprietary case. Some Dells have a proprietary power supply. Some Dells, absolutely, no problem. Dell makes hundreds of millions, and I want you to try and picture this in your head. Hundreds of millions of computers every single year. So if you want to go back to whatever age this old Dell is, you may be going back 10 million computers and asking if this 1 in 10 million is one of the 10 million that can be upgraded. They're not all 10 million are different, but there's different models and revisions of those models year after year. So that is not a very easy question to answer. Now, on the other hand, if you had an Apple computer and all those are built exactly the same, then in the world of Apple, we could answer that question. And the answer is always no. It's true. I'm not making this up. Billyman said the only problem he had with his Synology was in Windows Explorer, for some reason, I had to manually set the credential manager. I don't know what the credential manager is. I have no idea what that is. Whatever it is, I don't use it. But again, there's lots of different ways you can configure. If you do everything exactly, and I mean exactly the way I show it on my video, then you will get exactly the same response. But if you say, well, I didn't start with a fresh install, or I didn't follow this step, then don't expect, not that you're necessarily saying you did, but don't expect the same reaction and response from the machine as what I'm demonstrating, because if machines are always the same. If you follow every step exactly the way I show it, then you're going to get the exact response that I show every single time. That's all I can tell you, but as long as you got it working and you're happy with it,
At the end of the day, that's all that matters. John Downey said the best way to upgrade is to buy a new computer. I think most people would if they could afford it. I mean, why wouldn't they? If somebody could buy a new computer, don't you think they would do that? Not quite sure who that information is for. We'll file that under obvious. Unfortunately, people don't have the means, many people don't have the means to just simply buy a new computer. So then what do? Paul Vercher said he bought the Minisforum AI X1 Pro. That's a nice machine, isn't it? Got mine right over here. Yeah, this box. This one right here, AI X1 Pro. Definitely one of my favorite mini PCs right now. I say one of because I actually have a couple of favorites. Guess what? They're all from Minisforum. What a shock. Marsman said afternoon. I will rewind later. I'm leaving for Friday night fish. There's a seafood place pretty close to us. It's really good. And it's like the only good seafood place in Phoenix. For some odd reason, it's hard to get fresh fish here. But I will not go there on a Friday night. Holy moly. This place is ordinarily very calm. Service is really attentive and quick. Not on a Friday at 8. You're lucky to find a table. So guess where I will not go on a Friday night? I will not go to a place to have fish on a Friday night. I will do that personally Saturday through Thursday, any day but a Friday, just because so many other people do that. And I realize there's religious reasons. I don't have those reasons. I just want to enjoy fish because I want to, not because I feel like I have to. And if everybody else is doing it, I don't want to do it. But, you know, that's just me. And if we had lots of other options, maybe they all wouldn't be as busy. But generally speaking, any place that advertises a fish fry on a Friday, I'll pay a little bit more and eat it any other day but Friday, just to stay away from the crowds. But you enjoy that. Enjoy it for me. Now you got me wanting fish. Damn it. Not tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Andy wants to know the name of the fish place. I'm not going to give it out. Like I said, I have stalkers, so I'm not going to give out information that could potentially cause distress. If these stalkers didn't exist, and I say stalkers, it's not one, I have several. I don't want to go to jail for having mortally injured somebody. So I'd rather not be tempted. Marsman said all you can eat fish and chips, $15 in Coleman, Wisconsin. Yeah, I bet your fish and chips is a lot better in Wisconsin than what we get here in Phoenix. It's pretty rare, at least in my experience, to find it good. If I wanted to get $15 all you can eat fish and chips in Phoenix, I could. And then I can sit on the toilet all day tomorrow and Sunday. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's good or good for you. But maybe in your case it is. Let me get a cold Gatorade here. If you have questions for me, yeah, go ahead and ask away, and I'll do my best to provide my answer, my opinion, and explain to you why. You don't have to agree with it, but I don't just make stuff up. I have reasons. You may have different reasons. That's okay. Ah, man, this heat and humidity. Oh, I can't wait to get through August. Not that September's much better, to be honest, but Mara's all excited because the Spirit Halloween stores are getting ready to open. In fact, they might be opening this weekend, many of them. That's like her favorite store and her favorite holiday. They have some Halloween conventions, like in Long Beach, they have like the Horror Fest. Oh, Mara's all into that now. It's not too far of a drive, about 6 hours to Long Beach. I don't have a whole lot of interest in it, but I'd go for her. It's not terrible. They've got all the animatronics and makeup and all this stuff going on there. I see the appeal for people into that. Very Klein talking about getting sick from eating cheap fish. Says too much information. Right? Bill, Sony says, I'm on my mini PC. I love it. It's great for Netflix and Pluto TV. Well, we're glad to hear you're enjoying it and putting it to some use. Hey, Jim Meyer says, do you recommend the TR100? Why or why not? I answered that in the beginning of the stream. You can rewind the stream and go back. We've already discussed it. So if you ask a question that hasn't already been asked in this video, I'll answer new questions, but if you want to ask a question we've already asked, you can just rewind the video. David Graham said, it's only August. Halloween's 2 months away. It's Halloween season. Yeah. Starting around, well, right around today, you're going to start seeing Home Depots have all their Halloween displays out. All the retailers will have all their Halloween stuff out probably this week, if it's not already out. They definitely will have it in place by the 1st of September, so you have time to buy. But it's like Christmas, you know, it's like it's earlier every year. Target will have aisles of Halloween candy. That is not set up yet. But I imagine before the end of the month it'll be in place. At least that's how it works here in Phoenix. John Paul Bacon said, I'm lucky to live in Washington State where we can get great fish locally most of the time. Yeah, rub it in. Rub it in. Washington looks like a beautiful state. And a lot of technical people live there. That's where your Microsoft is. It's where a lot of, outside of Silicon Valley, you know, a lot of programmers, developers, etc. there in Washington. Scott says Menards has had Halloween stuff out the end of July. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. I don't think we have Menards in Phoenix, but when we travel around, we certainly see it. It's like a big Home Depot, I guess. Jim says stalkers do not understand the concept behind kindness. A lot of times, from what I've learned, is the stalkers had it done to them. Whatever it is they're doing, somebody did it to them. And now that's where they learned it, and they're not very social people. They don't have many friends. They're not very happy. They're usually single. They're not in a relationship. They likely haven't been. And they likely blame other people or society versus trying to better themselves. It's always somebody else's fault. Stalkers, they live in a world that it's always somebody else's fault. And, you know, there's a mental condition, and you can't tell them that because They can't see it. They just go, well, you have the mental condition. I don't. I'm sane. You won't meet a crazy person that isn't fully aware of their craziness. And if you make a suggestion, like maybe just see a therapist, don't take my word for it. Don't believe yourself. Get an unbiased third party to evaluate you. How dare you make such a suggestion? So the madness is self-fulfilling and self-fueling. So there's really nothing you can do about it. They typically, over a period of time, if they don't get better, their mental health issues will typically get worse until they wind up in a legal issue. So best thing you can do if you're dealing with stalkers is just to ignore them. And when they cross a line after they're tired of being ignored, then you get the police involved. And problem solved. But you shouldn't try and solve the problem yourself. You're only going to make it worse. So Moonwolf Hunter said, hope you're both doing well. Currently off the last 5 months from a knee injury. Ooh. Yeah, back injuries and knee injuries. Oof. Those can be life-altering, painful. But, hopefully you're healing up and, get back to 100% if you're not already. David Graham said, I heard Micro Center is coming to Phoenix. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for me? Micro Center is basically CompUSA. I didn't go to CompUSA when it was here. I don't miss them now that they're gone. I never think to myself, man, I wish there was a CompUSA nearby. Phoenix is Maricopa County is 500 square miles. And if you plop one store there, it's not really close to everybody. Some people within a radius of the location of the store will visit there. But if it's 20 minutes, an hour and a half, you can drive for an hour and a half to get from the southeastern side of Arizona to the northwestern side, and then turn around and drive home. So for example, if you were in Apache Junction or Gilbert, way up here, and you wanted to go to Surprise, Arizona, way down here, you're still in Phoenix, or you're in a suburb of Phoenix, and you're going, depending on traffic, the time of day, because there's a restaurant or a store you want to go to, you're probably not going to go. You're not going to invest 2 hours in travel. And that's if you're going quickly, upwards of 3 hours if there's an hour and a half to get there. Likely it'd probably be about an hour. And, depending on, there's always road construction here in Arizona, here in Phoenix. They'll detour you away from the road construction. And then when you make your next turn, you're back in road construction. You're like, really? If you're driving next to a stadium and there's an event like the football stadium, the arena, and if you're driving later in the evening and there's a sports match or a concert going on, traffic will be all backed up just randomly at night. Something's going on and people are all arriving for the show. Spring training, the freeway gets all backed up during spring training where the fields are. Car accidents, they'll limit the lanes. So then they're pushing all the traffic to one lane and nobody wants to let anybody in. It's a great place to live. And so imagine if you had to go through all of these potential random things that could slow you down just because you want to go shop at Micro Center. I'm not doing that. My understanding is they're going to be putting Micro Center east of downtown. It's basically this close to Scottsdale. When I was at Studio B, that would still be a 20-minute drive because Studio B was very north. And where they're putting the Micro Center is kind of central, but east. So if the middle of Phoenix is here, the Micro Center is like over here. And I'm way down over here. So it's not going to be easy to get to. And I don't see any reason why I would ever shop there. I get everything I want off Amazon. I don't buy from Newegg anymore. I don't really buy from anybody else. Does anybody buy from Newegg anymore? I haven't heard anything from them in a long time. So in a world of online shopping, where I push a button and it shows up at my door in 2 days with a 30-day return policy, I don't know why I would get in the car just to buy the exact same thing at Micro Center. Minus the cost of gas, the time to get there and back, the risk of an accident and a breakdown. For what? Anyway, no, it makes no difference to me. They could open up another restaurant down the street I'm not going to eat at. I don't care. It has no impact on my life either way. It's neither good nor bad. If I don't eat Chinese food and they're opening up a brand new Chinese food restaurant right down the street, I'm still not eating there. Nothing in my life has changed. So I kind of feel that way with Micro Center. There's nothing that they sell uniquely that I just, by the way, can't go to microcenter.com and order it. If I lived closer to it and I was bored and I wanted to look around, I don't have anything against it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to go there. Paul1961 says, what is the purpose of memory context restore on an MSI motherboard? I've never heard of that before. If I don't enable Expo, it will not work and the system hangs before boot. I have no idea. I've never heard any of those words put in that order before, but let me ask Copilot. What is the purpose of memory context restore on an MSI board? System hangs if I don't enable Expo. Memory context restore is a BIOS feature designed to speed up boot times by skipping full memory training during the power on self-test. Instead of retraining the memory every time the system boots, it restores previously validated memory settings from a saved context. Why does it cause system hangs? When Expo is disabled, your memory runs at default JDEC speeds, usually 4800 megahertz for a DDR5, which are more stable settings. But when Expo is enabled, it pushes the memory to higher speeds, like 6000 megahertz, which requires more precise training to ensure stability. If memory context restore is enabled, the system may skip retraining, assuming the previous settings are still valid. Now, this can lead to boot failures, freezes, or hangs, especially if the memory or a CPU's IMC or integrated memory controller is sensitive to timing changes or volume drift. Sometimes people are impatient. I'm going to forget Copilot right now. Sometimes people are impatient for the memory training. So if you have 48 gigs or 96 gigs or some outrageous amount of RAM, and you're turning on or off Expo, it has to retrain the memory again. I've had a number of customers who build their own systems who say, how come, my system won't turn on? And it's simply because they're not giving it enough time to turn on. The customers are giving up before the computer's done. I don't know if that's the case with you, but I see it so often. That's my first go-to, is you're being impatient. If you turn Expo off and turn the machine on and leave it for 5 minutes, you'll likely be at your desktop. Other than that, I'd have to see it. You may have some incompatible memory, or the memory may not be seated correctly. So I would, if I had it in front of me, first I'd give it the full 5 minutes. If it's still not booting, I'd remove one memory module, reboot it again, give it a full 5 minutes. If it's still not rebooting, take the remaining module, assuming you have 2, start with 2, take that out, put 1 in. I would also check and make sure you have not over-tightened your CPU cooler and bent your motherboard, because if you bend your board, then your RAM won't sit, even though to the naked eye it looks like it's flush. It's not. Not if you over-tighten your cooler. That would be another very obvious, common thing. Well, it's not obvious, but it's common. It's obvious to me. And then the last thing I would do is just try a different brand of memory, that there's some compatibility issue there. But most cases, you won't get past step one. Once you give it enough time, it boots up fine. And then any subsequent boot after that should be much faster. It just has to retrain that RAM. And if you've got 128 gigs of RAM, it's going to take twice as long than if you have 64 gigs of RAM to train it. You've doubled the length of time you're going to wait by adding more memory. I know that's opposite to what the internet tells you, but that's the truth. Now, once you're in Windows, and let's say you've got an excessive amount of memory, Windows likely won't operate any slower or any better, but you'll be happy to see, this excessive amount that's causing these extended boot times. But again, once you get past that first training, it's likely going to be okay. Barry Klein said, my memory can use a little training. It's getting worse as I age. Who's Barry Klein? Sorry, my memory. I kid. What's new with Mitch Morrison? I just talked to Mitch yesterday, and he's still healing. He's healing up. Sounds better every day, and I'm sure a few more weeks, and you never even know. But he's all fully, what's the word, ambulatory? He's on his own. He doesn't need anybody to help him. He's good, but he's not 100% yet. But he's damn close. So that's always good news. And seems in good spirits, and same old Mitch. What happened to Studio B? Studio B was never ours. I explained that in nearly every video, that Studio B was a temporary location that could have lasted 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years. We just didn't know. But in the meantime, we were able to use it. So basically, as long as somebody didn't die, we could use it. Okay? We don't know when somebody's going to die, but when they die, we have to get out. They died, and we had to get out. That's what happened to Studio B. Paul1961 said, I have 64 gigs of RAM, but without context, it wants to train every time. No, it shouldn't need to train every time. Once you leave it alone and stop messing around in the BIOS, if you just leave it alone, your first boot up will be the long. I mean, I've shown that. How many times on this channel have I shown? I've demonstrated it live. The first boot up always takes the longest. But the minute you go back in the BIOS, you change anything, or if you unplug the computer from the wall, you've cut power to it, it may need to retrain. But as long as your computer has power, even though it's off, it shouldn't need to retrain again. So you might contact MSI support. There may be something broken, or you may have an outdated BIOS that's up. You could check to see if there's a newer one. I've never seen a system from any manufacturer ever in my career that retrains every time it's turned on. So that would be something I'd have to see it to believe it. But again, if you cut power, if the way you shut your computer off is by unplugging it from the wall, yeah, it may need to retrain every time. But as long as the computer's plugged in, even though it's off, you shouldn't have to retrain again, unless you go back into BIOS and you just can't leave things alone. Well, it's not the computer that the problem is. That's the only way I could explain it. John Williams says, now I'm hungry for a fish dinner. Join the club, man. There's no way I'm going there on a Friday, though.
not that hungry for fish. David Graham, are you going to move into this new Studio C as a home? So David, I want to remind you, we have stalkers, right? You guys, I don't know if you're doing it on purpose, but you're asking for private information that viewers could potentially use against us. We have to keep very security minded about where we're located, how much stuff we have here for people who want to rob us, whether or not we live in the studio or the studio is a separate building can be used to harm us. And we would appreciate if you would keep those types of questions. Just think about what your natural curiosity might be doing to help somebody who's out to attack. So for those reasons, for our safety and for the lack of, not being annoyed, we will not disclose that kind of information. It's too personal for a channel of this size. If I had, 30 viewers and this was just a little side thing, probably nobody's watching. We have way too many people watching. So. Robert Jones says, I like the new computer store you found. Oh, Emerald Computers. I wish I'd have found them 20 years ago. You're happy you found it. Imagine how I feel. Hopefully we'll get back in touch with Jason here soon. I still have over an hour of that interview I have to go through and edit. It's a very difficult editing job for me. I don't enjoy editing, but I really want to share this with you. So I feel like, it's got a greater good and I will suffer to get it done. Because it was so last minute, it just wasn't prepped very well for cameras and tripods. So everything's handheld and very limited. But I was so excited, I didn't want to say no. He said, I'm available tomorrow. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. So now because of that, if I had a week's notice, I probably would have gotten some other cameras, charged them up, got some equipment over from Studio A. Like all my tripods are over there. All of the cameras I would use for on location, we haven't used those in a long time. They're at Studio A. And the reason for that is if something happens at Studio C, if there's a fire or a theft, I can still be back up and running with the equipment at Studio A. Even if it means bringing it back here or broadcasting from there. Either one's an option, but the show goes on. I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. And likewise, if something happens at Studio A, I still have the equipment at Studio B. I'm good either way. But all of that on location equipment, because it's so crowded in Studio C, I put it over to Studio A to get it out of the way. But then when I needed it, and it hasn't been charged in a long time, the batteries are likely dead. It's not close by. So to get over there to get the equipment, and then turn around and go to Emerald for the interview, there's no way I could have done that in the timeline. So I just said, here's what I've got. I'll make the best of it. And we're almost getting to a point where just using the phone is all we need. So who knows? The next few on location shoots, they just might be all done from the phone. Just remove all the big cameras entirely for location shooting. But if I'm going to do that, that means I need a gimbal and I need a selfie stick and I need to be able to move the camera up above. You saw me, well, maybe you didn't. Jason's a tall guy and I'm not. So for me to film like I'm looking at him in the eye, I have to hold the camera over my head. And I have to tilt the screen down and look at the camera and not look at Jason. And it's hard to keep it steady. Now in editing, I have to try and figure out how to fix the lighting and how to fix the camera moving. And it's only so much I can do. But I don't want to release it the way we filmed it. I've got good audio from one camera and good video from the other camera. So, the two have to be merged, and it's very time consuming. But he's a fascinating guy. It seems like a great business. And the edit is worth doing because we had a great interview and there was a lot of insight. He's very open about everything. There's so much insight about the challenges he's faced and some examples he can give us of, the scale. He made $1 million flipping laptops. And we talked about it. It's not in the latest edit yet, but yeah, he bought 1,400 laptops. And I originally
saw this video he did where he's like, I made $1 million. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You either have a financer and employees. There's no way one person flipped for, it didn't say how many laptops. He said, I flipped, I forget the title. It's here on YouTube. Laptops and made $1 million. And I think he said he did it in a year. And I was like, no, you didn't. No. You might have employees and financiers, but you yourself did not do that. So I called him to the carpet on that when I interviewed him. I'm like, come on. If you made $1 million flipping laptops, it wasn't you. It was a team. Because you know how many hours that would take and how much money it would take to just buy the 1,400 laptops? Where'd that money come from? Who did all the work? Plus you got to take pictures and write up descriptions, whether it's on Amazon or eBay. For each individual laptop, you've got to go through it, figure out, run it through a bunch of tests. There's only so many hours in a day. And I was like, explain this to me. So yeah, I didn't pull any punches on that. He didn't lie. He made $1 million, more than $1 million, but not by himself. I wonder if I can find that video. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Let's go to my window capture. So I saw this video. This is not him. This one. How I made $1 million flipping laptops and how you can too. Oh, really? I can make $1 million like you did? Okay, I don't have a team of employees working for me. I don't have deep pockets to go and buy 1,400 used laptops. So, yes, he's not lying, but at the same time, he's not fully disclosing exactly how much money you've got to have in the bank to finance and buy these laptops, how much time per laptop it takes. Then on top of that, the returns you're going to get when you do make a sale, the pictures and descriptions you have to write for each individual laptop on each platform you're selling. But yes, you can do that. Absolutely, it is possible. But you yourself, you're probably going to need a team of people if you want to get it done before you die of old age, because that's a lot of work. So there are things that work financially at scale that don't work for an individual, self-employed individual. And what he's talking about here involves scale. It involves employees. It involves warehousing. Do you have a warehouse to store 1,400 laptops? Or a truck to back up and to a loading dock with a forklift to unload multiple pallets of laptops? Because I don't. He does. Okay, so yes, with that context, he's absolutely right. He says it's not $1 million in sales, it's $1 million in gross profit. But what you have to understand is gross profit is not net profit. So gross profit is, okay, this is, what's the expense of the warehouse? What's the expense of this place? What's the expense of listing? What's the commissions he paid Amazon? How much did he pay the employees? And then after all that, how much was made? So these are things at scale, they make perfect sense. But the way this video was titled, it's like one guy. I didn't know who he was. One guy has a computer shop. He's his own employee. That's what I assumed. Okay, that's why I was like, wait a minute. How is it possible? But then when I learned about him and what his resources are, I was like, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. But we talked a little about this video. And I intentionally brought up the fact that, oh, by the way, if you don't have those resources, you can't do that. You didn't tell people that you had all these resources. But he's, it's not an insult or anything. It's just an observation that, for me, I was a little, I saw that title
I want to make $1 million on laptops, but I don't have a warehouse. I don't have the funding to buy the 1,400. And there's not enough hours in the day for me to go through 1,400 laptops, take pictures and write up descriptions and send them off and list them on Amazon and, end up getting some back that are returns. Go through the returns to verify if anything's wrong or is just somebody sent them back. Anyway, we talk about that. It's pretty interesting. Sean Gallagher says that he bought some computers from Emerald Computers that were not activated like 7 years ago. Well, I'd have to know the circumstances of the sale, the conditions of the sale. I can assure you nothing I saw is fake, and I've never seen a fake business in business for a quarter of a century. He's been in business over a quarter of a century. If all he's doing is faking, he wouldn't be in business that long. Sometimes customers have a misunderstanding or a miscomprehension, or they're quick to judge without giving somebody a chance to correct an error that might have been mistaken. And then they immediately go off the deep end with accusations that are not verifiable based on their assumption from a bad experience. And they want to, if you just want to turn somebody into the devil, it's very effortless to make somebody out to be evil. I met the man and I've seen his employees and I've seen his equipment and I've seen his standards. And this is not an evil man. People make mistakes. Sometimes people overreact and turn mountains from molehills into mountains, because there's something about it that they really enjoy psychologically by pointing out injustices. From my experience, when you let people know, you say, hey, look, looks like these machines aren't activated. With a business like Emerald Computers, likely the answer is either they were supposed to be, and we apologize, and here's your activations, or the activations weren't included, and if you were not aware of that, you're welcome to return the computers. At no point did I ever see Jason say when somebody buys something, it's as is. Everything he sells has a warranty. But again, some consumers, they just go at it very aggressively. So if, for example, somebody, let's say I shipped a computer and I made a mistake, and they go, Carey, I waited 2 weeks for this and you didn't hook up the hard drive, and that makes you a terrible person, you suck, and I'm going to tell everybody how terrible you are, you're a fraud. Wouldn't you think that's an overreaction? And if you talk to me like that, what kind of response do you think you're going to get back? I'm going to give you the same right back. But if you take it from a more kind approach, hey, I think there's been a mistake or a misunderstanding. It appears that a cable wasn't hooked up or you made a mistake. Oh, did I? I apologize. Like, the reaction you're going to get from me is going to mirror exactly the way you come at me. If you come at me like I'm a thief or a bad guy, I'm going to come at you like you're the thief and you're the bad guy. If you come at me with understanding and you say, look, I think there's been a mistake, I'm going to say, really? Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to make this right. I might even say, no, you misunderstood, but I will take money out of my pocket for your misunderstanding when I don't have to, just because you're such a nice guy. But if you're a jerk, I'm not going to do a damn thing for you. So sometimes you get exactly what you give, and if that's your reaction, then expect the same response. If you want to get kindness and understanding from somebody, you need to give it. And if you don't give it, it is unreasonable for you to think anybody would respond to you with that kind of attitude in a kind way. Like, why would anybody do that? Why would they voluntarily subject themselves to that? So why would you put yourself in that position? Everything they sell at Emerald Computers has, he said, a 90-day warranty. I think he said 90, because normally it's 30 days with used equipment. And I thought it was very generous he's offering 90 days. And if a customer bought something and they didn't understand what they were buying, that's nobody's fault. Bring it back, get a refund. If Emerald Computers made a mistake, then Emerald Computers needs to be made aware of that. Like, I think there was a mistake, give them a chance to fix it. But if your immediate reaction is any mistake that makes you the devil,
you're a horrible person and a fraud, you're the one that's bad. You're the one who's quick to judge others and expect to be judged back. It's just a terrible mental approach to any sort of diplomacy or compromise. If you want diplomacy, you need to offer it. If you're always going to be a victim, then you're always going to be a victim. That is your choice to make. And don't expect anybody else to fix that. That's on you. I promise you, if what you said is true, he would not be in business. There's no way you could sustain a business for more than a quarter of a century scamming people. It's not a thing. It's never existed, ever. No business can survive that. So, without knowing the details of your situation, what I can tell you is there appears to be an overreaction and a miscommunication. And as a result, they probably don't want to work with you anymore. I wouldn't. If a customer came at me like that, no. So again, you're going to get what you give in this world. And if you change your attitude and you change your approach to be more positive and more diplomatic, you'll likely not have as many bad experiences. Try it and prove me wrong. Like I said, you could have returned those units. If you felt like you weren't being satisfied with the answers you were receiving, returns were always there. And why you chose not to return them, why you would rather fight, fighting requires two people. If one person doesn't want to fight with you and you want to fight, there's no fight. They just walk away. It sounds like somebody just walked away from you. You still had the legal option of a refund. Why you did not exercise that, I don't understand. But no, I completely disagree. I think Emerald Computers is an upstanding seller and set an example in how we can recycle, do the right thing, and he's offering better customer service than I've ever seen from any computer store I've ever been to. So I don't know where you normally shop and what you're expecting. I've never seen a computer store stand behind their products the way they do. If I thought for 1 minute there was anything shady, you think I'd take the time to go visit them? You know how many shops I haven't visited? Why do you think that is? All the content that I'm not making here is because I have no interest in promoting those companies. You'll never know what those companies are because we don't spend time talking about them. So if I'm spending time talking about a product like the Windows keys, it's from a legitimate company with a history, recorded history. If we're talking about a restaurant I like, it's because it's been around, it's established itself. If it's just a regular old company, there's nothing special about it, or they're making the same product as everybody else, or I think there's something sketchy, we won't feature it here. And those are my rules. I have standards. If you're a company that's been around for 26 years and you haven't dealt with an unreasonable public, then you've never worked retail in your life. I'd recommend you go get a job at Best Buy and go work there for a year. And after dealing with the general public for a year, no matter how nice you are, there's some people that just think the world's out to get them, and they will do everything they can to make your life miserable. And I hope you're not one of those people. But the best way to experience it is to go work in that field for a year with the general public. Most of the public is a pleasure to work with, but boy, there's some special ones. And I hope you're not one of the special ones, because a good cure for that is for you to get a taste of it on the other side. After about a year of having a taste of it, I assure you, you will never want to do that to anybody again after you've had it done to you. But I can only tell you from experience, it sure as hell changed my attitude real quick. One of the best things I ever did was work at Best Buy. Before they had a Geek Squad, I was the computer repair guy for the store, the entire store, one guy. And this was the flagship store, the biggest one in Phoenix. From the day it opened, I was their computer guy on day one. And boy, the stories I could tell you, some people are just impossible. They're unreasonable. They will not understand, refuse to understand diplomacy. And once you give up on diplomacy, diplomacy gives up on you. So at the end of the day, the response we get is often a direct reaction to the response we give. If you come at somebody, expect them to defend themselves. Anything else would be unreasonable. And that's what I got to say about that. You will never have 100% of happy customers. Some people are very unreasonable. And when you get a taste of it, and you get that taste for a good year, minimum of 1 year, it's going to change your ways. If that's what you were doing before, you're going to stop. It's miserable. You're like, I'm just doing a job, man. I don't know why you're coming at me. I just work here. I feel bad. I see it happening to Walmart employees all the time. Walmart employees can take some abuse. One of the ways businesses stay in business is by having repeat business. And if you're scamming people, you're not going to get any repeat business. If you're in an argument with a customer and you have a business to run, it's usually the customer, in my experience, that's the one being unreasonable. Because the business, there's nothing in it for them to piss you off. They want you to come back. But if you're so difficult that it's just exhaustive to try and handle and deal with you when that's not a normal thing to deal with people in general, then it just makes sense they're going to move away. They're going to just, your business isn't worth having. So, we've had customers, like I've had customers that they'll say preposterous things like, I list a computer for sale. So let's say I'm asking, say it's $1,000 computer, I'm asking $600. They go, will you take $200 for it? No. Would you just sell me the CPU? Okay, well, if I sell you the CPU, what am I supposed to do with the cooler and the case and the power supply? What am I supposed to do with it? These are horrible people. They don't give a rat's behind about anybody else. They will kick you in the nuts just for the fun of it. How much time am I going to spend with those people? Once I see that attitude, I block them. I want nothing more to do with them. And I'm sure as hell not going to sell them anything at any price. They're just bad customers. There are good customers and there are bad customers. Not all customers are good customers. If I lose a customer, I don't care. If I lose a good customer, I will go out of my way to win them back. Just saying. Andy says, we really know next to nothing about Emerald computers. Well, because you haven't looked. I wonder if they have a Yelp. Gee, I wonder if they have Google reviews. Let's look. Emerald computers. Window capture. If you don't trust me that I have vetted out my guests, then I don't know why you watch my content. Like, if that's not good enough for you, there is no business that's going to have a scale of sales where they're going to get 5 stars. That's fixed. Like, that's suspicious. So here we see 3.8 stars out of 35 reviews. Let's see what the worst thing somebody has to say. Like I said, if there were nobody dissatisfied, I know the general public. There's no way the general public all agrees 5 stars. Something suspicious going on there. What do the reviews say? Meta PC. That's not Meta. Come on. Where's here we go. Got an expensive computers, these guys. 90-day warranty. Any questions I've had, they've helped. Okay. Great price for a great computer. Got the machine, got in, got out. That's how I like to shop.
Good. If you're having computer issues, the experts say, "Oh, get it fixed, best computer store in the valley." Who's right and who's wrong? All of these people or one person in the chat room? Seth, 4 stars. They tend to be helpful. Try not to overcome. Matthew has better communication skills than Scott. I did not meet Matthew or Scott, so I don't know. I mean, I might have seen them in the building, but I was not introduced to them. There's a 1 star. First time I visited the store, the associate seemed unusually suspicious of me and was unfriendly. I was looking to see if there were any computer parts I could purchase. I was unaware that this store wasn't like Best Buy, where a customer could simply walk in and look around. Yes, you can. You can look around. I asked if they sold some SSDs. They told me the price. I told them I'll look elsewhere. They seemed eager to have me leave immediately. I hope it wasn't just a misunderstanding. If an appointment was necessary and the customer walk-ins aren't welcome, they should have been made clear. Now, see, this is somebody with a really bad attitude. You see how they immediately go to the negative. They don't assume that they did anything wrong. If they needed an appointment, it was their fault. They didn't publish that. But they don't need an appointment. And there's no sort of self-analysis going, well, maybe, well, here, what did the owner say? You can simply come into the lobby area and look around. Sorry if you felt any discomfort. We have thousands of happy customers. He took the time to respond. I'm not sure I would have. Came here for a repair, had bad RAM. Patrick helped me out, was friendly, figured the problem, fixed my PC. Don't come in here if you need a charger for your laptop. Buy the charger online. They sell them cheaper. But I was expecting a charger at this place to be like 20 to 40 bucks, but no. So let's think about the way this is written so we can learn a little bit about Kim G. Kim G says, if it's not the price I'm expecting to pay, you're ripping me off. Kim G says, I need to make sure you know the person that helped me was short and the person was Asian. Well, that's very important to somebody like Kim G to pigeonhole somebody like that. Guy charged me $70 for a 90-watt charger that I didn't need at all. Well, nobody charged you anything for anything you didn't voluntarily choose to buy. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this person has a mental illness. They're clearly not in reality. Like, we're supposed to read Kim's mind. I did end up getting it because I didn't have one. Oh, well, I guess you had no choice then. They held a gun to your head, I guess. I had to deal with the crappy one, though it worked. But when I tried to plug video games in my laptop, both battery light and computer light would go off. And that also proved that it didn't belong to my laptop. Well, we don't know that for a fact. If you'd have brought the laptop in and had them diagnose it for you, you might have found your fix was the wrong fix. But you've made an assumption that you know what's wrong with it. And yet, you've also made an assumption on how much it should cost you for a replacement. And you were wrong on all these accounts, but it's everybody else's fault that Kim G was wrong. Oh, and it was also dirty from the inside. We filmed the inside. Did it look dirty to you? This is a judgy person. Very, very judgy. And here the business owner takes the time to respond to such a judgmental person. 90-watt chargers are usually $35 unless it's something special. You could have talked with us if you were unhappy. We would have resolved any issue you had. Online will usually be cheaper, but you have to wait for it, and it may not be right, may not be correct. Jason's a very reasonable guy. That he's way nicer than I am. I'll tell you that. If I had somebody talk to me that way, there's no way I would handle that level of disrespect unjustifiably lobbed towards me. That's just a random, verbalized, insulting attack that is unjustifiable, and I would ban that person from ever coming into my store again. Ryan, I am a huge fan. Pat, Jason and his staff helped me build my dream machine. They did an amazing job. Quick turnaround on all the parts I ordered. Final build was outstanding. Superb wire management. Very friendly employees. Here's Ray. They had a refurbished laptop listed on their inventory page for $210. When I went in to look at it, I was told that was an error. The price is $275, but they'd let me have it for $255. That price is about $100 less than the same refurb from Newegg or Tiger Direct, so I decided to take a chance. I got it home. I tried watching Netflix. The sound from the speakers was so low I couldn't hear it. Plugged in headphones, it was still difficult to hear. Took it back, looking for a refund. was told by the tech, store credit only. So I called the owner. In less than 2 days since I bought it, I can't get my money back. That's store policy. It's on your receipt. Oh, you mean the receipt you printed out after I gave you my money? That's usually how receipts work. Do you ever get a receipt for things you didn't pay for? He says, well, there's a sign posted in the store. If you've been to the store, there's dozens of, look, it's always somebody else's fault. So what we run into, and I can prove this to you, you can just look yourself all day long, is you're going to have some people who think they're buying a Rolls Royce and you're going to kiss their butt because their business is so critical when they're buying the cheapest thing they can possibly buy, but they're expected to be treated like royalty. That's not going to happen. This is a discount shop selling refurbished items. And so let's say, for example, this were to happen to me, because this is a very easy thing. If we assume everything the customer says is true, which may not be, but let's just pretend for the sake of argument that I sold somebody a computer. I don't plug speakers into it to check it. It's such a thing that it's just not a thing. It's so rare. It would take me longer to test every single computer than just deal with the random one that shows up every 7 years that has an audio issue. That's a cheaper way to handle it. You know, we'll find problems that are, we'll look for the common issues. Beyond that, the uncommon issues, we're not going to spend time looking for that. So I could see how they could sell a refurbished laptop. I could see how in their huge inventory of thousands of items, something was priced incorrectly. And I can also see how they said, okay, well, we'll meet you in the middle on it. They could have also honored the price, right? They could have said, all right, it's our mistake. We'll eat it. And Jason has done that a number of times. So I don't know the circumstances in this. But regardless, a $40 difference, right? So he gets it home, has speaker issues, comes back. He doesn't say, can you help me fix it? He's intolerant and judgmental. He assumes you're scamming me. I'm a victim. You're a horrible person. Give me my money back. And they're like, no, wait a minute. First of all, we have a refund policy. There is a return policy. It's 90 days. But if you like the laptop, wouldn't you like it to identify that it's not you and give us an opportunity to either replace it with one that's equal to or better than? Like, isn't the whole point of you shopping there to buy a laptop? And if you're like, no, not anymore. It was, but now I feel like due to the circumstances, you're a rip-off place and I want nothing to do with you. I find it hard to believe that Jason would not have refunded his money. That's not enough money. I would have probably taken $200 out of my pocket and handed it to the guy just as another customer going, get the hell out of here. I'll pay you to leave. Because again, people like that, they're the scam artists. And they're saying everybody else is the scam. That's a scam tactic. However, let me see if Jason responded to that. Because I believe Jason would have had the same conclusion I did. I'll give you the money, just get out and never come here again. You're not welcome here. People, they can make mistakes. And if your assumption is everybody who makes a mistake is the devil, I don't want to live in your world. And I don't want you in mine. This is why I don't have a retail store. Talk about my Best Buy days. Boy, do I have some stories. Anyway, we look back on page 2. Terry with 5 stars, SS with 5 stars, Jim C with 5 stars. Carol, 1 star. Worst customer service. Don't depend on even a phone call back, especially in an emergency. So somebody thinks they had an emergency and that emergency calls would be included in the discounted refurbished product. You're going to kiss my butt because I gave you $1. No. Anyway, their opinion is it was unprofessional. Don't be scammed. Find someone else. I was referred to another tech because Jason, the owner, couldn't be available. Oh, you might have other customers? He might be busy. No one at the shop and no return phone calls. Yeah. Again, we don't know what she said on the phone call. You guys are a bunch of bastards. You better call me back. We're not calling you back. No. This is a warning, especially when your data recovery is an issue.
It's not their fault you don't have backups. That's on you. Blaming other people for your faults, buying the cheapest thing you could buy and thinking you're getting first-class white glove service included. No one ever said that to you. Anyway, look at how they are demonizing. This is an individual personality disorder that affects, I'm going to say, maybe 5% of the public, the general public. That when I walk into Walmart and I listen to what customers complain about, they're scam artists. The customers that are doing this kind of complaining, these are the scammers. They want to give you nothing. They want you to give them everything. And if you don't, they say you're the scammer. But you'll notice he says, we're computer hardware sales. We have great deals on computer hardware. However, we offer very limited service options. We also do not do emergency service. We only do data transfers for people buying computers. We don't offer data recovery, not for free. We did not take care of this client because this simply is not our business model. He's honest. I'm going to applaud for Jason. Most business owners wouldn't be that honest. Connie, 5 stars. Lynn, 5 stars. James, 5 stars. Like, what more do you want to know about this? How much evidence do you need that reasonable people with reasonable expectations see the value in Jason's business? That's why I'm so amazed by it. That's why I brought it to your attention. But they're always going to be unreasonable people. They have unreasonable expectations, and they will make ultimatums and demands while complaining the other party is not being diplomatic. You're not somebody that's possible to be diplomatic with if you're making ultimatums and you're being judgmental. You make diplomacy impossible. But if you are a diplomatic person, it's reasonable to expect diplomacy back. But if you start out throwing a punch, don't expect to be offered a handshake. Expect to get punched back. I paid you so I can punch you. No, that's not how this works. That is entirely disrespectful and potentially illegal. And this is the public. Open a retail store or go work for one for a year. I can't wait to hear your stories. You got to feel bad for anybody working at Best Buy, Walmart, Target. Speaking of that, we were at Target the other day. They remodeled this Target. They had this store all torn out for months. It looks exactly the same, and they didn't change any products or prices, right? If Target didn't have what you wanted before the remodel, they don't have it now. Okay, so you pulled the carpet out, and now there's tile. It's still the same inventory. So why would I want to shop here because you changed the flooring? I don't know what the people at Target are thinking. But they're starting to lock up things where you have to get help. You have to get an associate to unlock an item so you can buy it. I understand when they do that with small electronic devices like smartphones. But what I saw, I had the video record it. You gotta see this. There's, in the men's undergarments, there's a company that's, I've never heard of them. They're called Pair of Thieves. That's the name of the brand. And you can see they have a lot of selection. Pair of Thieves. For underwear. Or pants, as the British would say. And it's Pair of Thieves is locked up. You have to get somebody to help you. I'm just saying, if you could steal them, would they be free? Is that okay? Pair of Thieves is locked behind a display counter. Come on. Is that an invite? Is that like a challenge? Hold my beer? I don't know what that is, but that was so funny. I'm like, hold on, Mara, I got to get the phone out and record this. Man, that's hilarious. Let's lock up the $6 underwear. Sean Gallagher says, companies pay for fake reviews. If you have evidence of that outside of your imagination,
You're making false claims. That is libel and slander and is illegal. So just because you've heard of a company making or paying for a false review doesn't mean all companies do that, or even that most companies do that. You continue to be judgmental. You continue to find reasons to demonize people. And until you change your attitude, your life is going to be difficult. People don't normally do that. And it's wrong for you to make that assumption unless you have some evidence upon which to base it on. How would you like it if I did that to you? I could just make up something about you. Well, I've heard you're a thief. Isn't that offensive? Like, what gives you the idea that, well, because people are thieves? Well, not all people are thieves. Yeah, but still. What kind of reaction? Hear yourself. Listen to what you're saying. And if somebody talked to you that way, how would you respond? You're going to get exactly what you're giving. And so long as you dig your heels in, nothing's getting any better. So you're aware of it. It's up to you to make that change. If you think that's true, show me evidence. If you don't have it, then you're just like a child. Don't sit there and tell me about your imagination as though it's real. If you're a child, I understand, and I would expect that. But as an adult, you should know better than that. Nobody deserves that. Eric says, how long have you known Emerald Computers? I haven't known Emerald Computers beyond watching some of their YouTube videos over the years. And I reached out to, I didn't reach out to them initially. I didn't realize, I think initially I didn't realize they were local. And then when I did reach out, apparently he was in the Philippines for like 6 months. And I assumed the reason they're not getting back to me is they're not interested. And I didn't want to be a pest. So I just moved on. I'm not going to keep inviting somebody who's not responding to me. And out of the blue, I got a response. And I'm like, oh, geez, you know, I gave up on you. I'm glad you called me back. You know, I'm glad you emailed me. And, you know, I'd already done my research with Emerald. Before I invited them, I don't just take somebody's word for it. I go back and I look and research. And everything I'm looking at, it's all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. And I would never assume negative without evidence. But there's a lot of evidence that proves positive, right? You can look and see the history of this company. You can look and see the multiple locations they've had over the years. It's all online. They've been in business verifiably over 20 years. Nobody's in business over 20 years ripping people off. You can't sustain a business ripping people off. And, you know, they're in my line of work, so I can kind of tell if people are selling crap or they're just trying to get away with something. And one of the reasons the interview went on for 2 hours is so much of what he was talking about matches my own experience. This guy's the real deal. When I bring on, for example, Ask Your Computer Guy, Scott Merrill, or Windows Training with Doug Betts, or any of the other guests we have, do you think I'm just inviting anybody? I have a very, very fine filter. Most people will never, ever be able to fit through this filter. I have been accused of being too particular. I've been accused of having standards that were not reasonable. And yet, there are people that meet those standards. And when they do, that's what gets them the invitation. That doesn't mean they're going to take the invitation. There's other invites I've sent out that I've got no response from, or somebody said, I'm busy and I'll get back to you, which may be true, or it may be just a polite way to say they're not interested. And then you never hear back from them again. And that's okay. You know, I'm just not sending out the invites to anybody. And to get an invite to be a guest on my show, you can't buy that.
So it's either something that is earned, I have to be made aware of it, I look it up. I'm not going to put my reputation on the line for nothing. I've got to admire what I consider to be a peer, somebody equal to or better than me in experience and in their ability in this industry. And it doesn't matter if they started 5 years ago or they've been doing it for 35 years. What matters is they have a long enough history of experience being paid by customers, being held accountable and responsible. They're not just enthusiasts. If they're an enthusiast, that's fine. They can go over there. I don't want the enthusiasts as guests. I have no interest in it. It's my channel. I don't want to highlight enthusiasts. I want to hire people like me in the industry that share the same sort of technical issues, customer issues, acquiring business issues, difficult, customer requiring something that was a challenge. I love hearing those stories. Enthusiasts don't have those stories. So the very fact that they would be on the show, you've got to know they didn't pay for that. It wasn't their idea. They stood out to me, not immediately, it took some time. And then I realized, this is fantastic. And then when I went there to see it in person, I don't know if you can tell, I was blown away by the scale, because it's far larger than the scale of any other guest I've had on, whether it's Anthony Remus at Remus Computer Solutions, or Doug Betts, or Scott Merrill, myself, anybody you've ever had on the show. Nobody has had a scale like that. Like that is, that is the boss, the end game, the boss level right there. Holy cow. Wow. I was blown away. And when I overheard the way their customers were talking, his employees was wrapping up with a customer, and he was so nice. And these were just like an older couple that were in there to buy a machine. And I overheard a little bit of the conversation, and I was like, wow, you don't see this kind of service anymore. I can't believe that, in my world, I'm moving so quickly. It's not a matter of being nice. It's just, let me get you taken care of so I can help the next person. They sat with these customers the whole time I was there. They were very patient. It wasn't like, hey, I got to hurry up and get you out of here. They were very, very nice to these people, well above and beyond the type of hand-holding and courtesy for such what I imagine is a pretty small sale. They're not buying anything expensive here. They don't sell anything expensive. So to be treated that well at a discount store, find that anywhere. Find it anywhere. The only way if you go to Dollar General, right? Or if you go to, what's the other one? These dollar stores. Did you get any customer service in a dollar store? Did you ever see just crap not organized? Boxes laying around blocking the aisle? I've seen customers putting inventory away. What's going on? I don't shop there. It's dirty, disgusting, and the people that work there, universally, no matter where I've been, they don't seem to want to be there. There's no urgency to get you help. And for the most part, the place looks like a bomb hit it. Everything's in disarray. I've never been to a clean dollar store or Dollar General, ever. And I won't go back. I'm not interested in shopping at a place like that. So imagine you can go somewhere that has refurbished items that have been gone through by a technician from top to bottom, is selling them at rock bottom prices, cheaper than you could probably buy anywhere else. And then on top of that, he's like, can we help you with it? We'll transfer your data. What do we do to close the sale? We'll help you bring it out to the car. Like, oh my gosh, that's insane. Best Buy ain't doing that for you for 3 times the price. So I'm just telling it like it is. If Emerald goes out of business tomorrow, I mean, I got no dog in the race. If they double their business, it doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at it with admiration, and I'm sharing it with you because I found this gem. And only a fool would see opportunity and go, oh, that's trash. And people do that all the time. There are people, when they hear opportunity knocking, they complain about the noise. So I do what I do because it's important to me.
And if you don't get that, then the whole value of my channel is completely missed by you. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the filtering for you, right? I'm doing the work. I'm saying, look, I've dug through all the crap so I could find the things of value, at least that I think of value, so much so that I'm going to make a video to share that. Instead of keeping it secret to myself, I'm sharing it with you. And for you to think anything negative about that, it's preposterous. It's absurd. Now, if I'm over here making an advertisement that they paid me to make, I understand your skepticism. If you know anything about this channel, we do not do that. So that's it. If you don't believe me, then don't. It doesn't make a difference in my life if you choose to believe me or you don't. I don't benefit from it if you do, and I don't sacrifice for it if you don't. I can reach out some food to you if you're hungry, and if you think there's a catch and you don't want to eat it, I've done my part. Andy says Dollar Tree. That's what Dollar Tree and Dollar General. Man, those are the most disgusting places I've ever been. I've been to one, I've been more than one, where the aisle is completely blocked with boxes of inventory that are supposed to be put away on the shelves. I've seen it where milk has not been put in the refrigerator. I don't know how long it's been sitting out there. And a customer is actually putting the milk in the refrigerator. Just a customer. I'm like, I'm not shopping here. But it's Dollar Tree. What do you expect? And at the same time, my expectations are lowered going to a refurbisher. It's refurbished. It's not going to be perfect. Price is going to be low. They're not going to kiss your butt with white glove service. But Emerald did so much more than necessary. The fact that it's still not enough for some people, those people are unreasonable, period. Andy says, I'm not implying in your integrity. I didn't think you were recommending the place, just investigating. And so, I wasn't necessarily talking to you, Andy. It might have been your question that set me off on that path. But I'm trying to cover the gamut of the viewers who are negative. So I didn't mean for that to be towards you directly. I appreciate your question. Barry Klein said, I've always said no one should be allowed to work for someone else until they've started their own business. I think it's the other way around. I think you should work for Best Buy or Office Max or Staples, somewhere where they do computer repairs for the public before you start your own business. Because if you start your own business without that, you are woefully unprepared. And Scott mentions, with Emerald computers, that level of service when they're going through 1,000 computers a month. Yeah, that's my point. When you combine that level of service, those prices at that scale, how is any work getting done? No, the question I was referring to wasn't asked by Andy. It was asked by Eric P. in the chat room asking how long I've known Emerald Computers. I think sometimes people misunderstand who I'm talking to. Like they think I'm talking to them specifically. And sometimes I am. But usually a question that comes in, it's more of a generic answer for the people in that category, right? If you have a certain mindset, if this shoe fits you, then I'm talking to you. If the shoe does not fit you, I am not talking to you. we have a worldwide audience, and sometimes there's some confusion over whose question I'm answering and who I'm talking to. But in general, I'm not talking to anybody specific. Sometimes, but not usually. I'm usually talking to a specific attitude. If you don't have the attitude I'm talking about, then I'm not talking about you. You have to figure it out. John Paul Bagan said he's going out of his way to be more than just a used reseller shop. I think so. Find me another one like it. Who are you comparing him to if you think he's not good enough? Compared to who? You know, all unhappiness is caused by comparison. So if I take my Hyundai to the Hyundai dealer for work, to get work done, and I'm like, hey, you guys didn't come out and offer me donuts. This ain't BMW. This ain't Mercedes. It's like asking, where's the steak knife and the cloth napkins at McDonald's? This ain't the steakhouse. You're at McDonald's. Set your expectations appropriately. So, you know, compared to what is what I'm saying. If you have no example, then I have no idea what you have to complain about. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And Barry Klein says that's the point he's making. Until someone's had the experience of trying to earn a living by themselves, they have no appreciation of the challenges a business owner has. Well, that's true too, right? But so there's two aspects to it. There's the job. So as a computer technician, I have to know how to do my job. And at some point, I say to myself, and this really happened, how come my employer charges the customer 10 times more than they pay me? Why isn't it the other way around? I'm the one doing all the work. So I go, well, I'll just start my own business. Okay, that's a whole nother set of skills. That has nothing to do with computers. How you get business is probably more valuable than actually doing the work. And that's where, you know, let's say, take for example, Best Buy. Best Buy has customers coming in the doors constantly, every day, nonstop, open to close. There's always customers in the store during store hours. Sometimes it's busier, sometimes less. There's never a time when the store is empty. Never, from my experience. And I'm doing all this work on computers. Customers are bringing their computers in, and I know what I'm charging. I know how much the customers are paying for my work. And after a while, I go, well, why is Best Buy getting 90% of this and giving me 10%? That's not cool. I'll just start my own business, and I'll do all the work myself, and I'll keep all the money. Well, I don't have the marketing budget of Best Buy. How do you get customers to even realize you exist, that you're an option? And that is a whole nother skill. And it's a skill I definitely did not have. I knew how to do the work. I did not know how to get the work. And then on top of that, there's inventory that I had no concept of. There are so many aspects to running a business that never occurred to me because they were always taken care of by my employer. I just didn't think about it until I was forced. Like, okay, I'm here. Think about like a chef that's working for a restaurant, and the chef says, I want to run my own restaurant. And at my restaurant, I'm going to serve the menu I want to serve. And the chef gets a location, a beautiful atmosphere in the restaurant, beautiful menus, amazing food, ultra clean. It's affordable. Food is outstanding, but nobody knows he exists. If only they knew there's this amazing restaurant with a great atmosphere and low prices and amazing food. He's done everything that a chef can do. Now he needs to do the work that a marketing person can do. Now he needs to do the business side, right? He's got to figure out where's he sourcing the ingredients from.
Who's going to go get those ingredients? Who's going to put those ingredients away? How are we going to let people know we exist? And that is the single problem every single business that exists has. How do we make people aware? For that reason, that takes us back around to why I focused on Emerald Computers. They don't have a big marketing budget. I think more people need to know they exist. I mean, they live in my town, and I didn't even know they were there for 20 years. What an injustice. Because I can assure you, if I had known about them 20 years earlier, like back around, let's just say 2005, would have made a very big impact on the services I could offer my clients and the solutions I could offer my clients that I could rely on, that I'm willing to put my reputation on, that could have enhanced the services that I offer while lowering my prices. So if I didn't know, how many other people don't know? And so for that reason, it's deserving of a video to raise awareness to those people that are interested. I'm not here to sell anybody anything. I just want you to know there's an option. If you don't like it, I don't care. If you're skeptical of it, I don't care. If you love it, I don't care. I mean, I'm hoping I'm making content you appreciate. But at the same time, there's nothing in it for me. It's just hopefully useful information you did not have prior. That's it. What you do with it, I can't control. But it's so rare to find a gem like that. I feel like I would be doing you a disservice by withholding that from you. If I just kept this to myself, this is my own little secret place, I feel that would be dishonest. That's all. John Lewis said, I was happy to see Emerald Computers sells on Amazon in the United States. They do. They have an Amazon store. And, you know, as he mentioned in the interview, he said we found network switches don't get returned as much as laptops do on Amazon. He said it right in the video. He referenced it. In fact, I don't know if we got much more in depth about the Amazon side of things, but I think there's more about that in the interview coming up. Frank Jimmy said he's going to open a Tree Fitty store. I think that's already been done. I don't see any other questions here. Like I said, just kind of a laid back Friday for today. Little change of pace. I need a break from all the reviews and how-tos I've been doing lately. It's created a little backlog for me with regards to just running out of space to put everything, which I haven't resolved yet, but one step at a time, and it's just starting with me not adding more to the pile right now. That said, we still have more follow-up reviews to do on the NASs we've got from Minisform, Orico, and Synology. I have a couple more mini PCs coming in for review that are not here yet. I'm waiting on the Nano KVM Pro to be released. It should be within the next few weeks, I hope. When we receive it, we'll review it ASAP.
all of this stuff I'm really looking forward to. We have some small gadgets to review. There's a company that reached out to us called, I don't know if I can even say the name. GSC. I think it's Orico under a different name. And they have, maybe I can just pull an Amazon page up. I'll let you pronounce it. They have an NVMe drive that looks exactly identical to Orico's. Very, very aggressively priced. Here we go. What is this, a 2 terabyte? So if we go to window capture, here's the Amazon page. Here's what they've sent me. This is what I have in my hands. Only mine's a 2 terabyte. It's got a heatsink already built onto it. It is at Gen 4, 2 terabyte, and it saturates the Gen 4 bus to maximum speed. That's fast. Compared to the name brands, it's much cheaper. You're at $134.99 for the 2 terabyte, $84.99 for the 1 terabyte, and there is a 15% coupon, which is going to take off. Well, 10% of this would be $13.40, and half of $13.40 would be about $6.70. So let's say $7 plus 13 bucks, about $20 off, let's just say. So it'll be about $114.99. Price sound good yet? And here's the deal. Warranty on this, an endurance rating, 1.5 million hours mean time before failure, 5-year warranty. And of course, they make it up to 4 terabytes, the 500 gigs to 4 terabyte storage. And they said, would you review it? Yeah, I mean, I love storage. TLC RAM, host memory buffer technology, write speeds up to 6,600 megabytes per second. I mean, this thing's fast. It's got power loss protection, error correction code, bad block management, RAID-like. I guess they mean the speeds of this is faster than some RAID. Wear leveling, of course, you'd expect that. And garbage collection, you'd expect that. Thermal throttling, you expect that if it's needed. I don't know what AES XTS is other than some kind of encryption. Secure erase, meaning it has like a built-in utility to, you want to destroy the data without destroying the device. The 1 terabyte version, a little bit slower. 2 terabyte version, a little bit faster. That's just how SSDs work. The larger the capacity, usually the faster it goes. And I've never heard of the brand. Is it too good to be true? I mean, somebody's got screenshot from Crystal Diskmark here, and their write speeds may be low because they don't have it configured correctly. But their read speeds are exactly what would be expected. It's so close. Anyway, it sounds good. Good enough for me to say yes. Send us one and we'll review it. We very rarely say yes when we get asked to do a review. So much of what the people are asking us to review is just cheap crap. So something that something that's really inexpensive but claims to be really, really good, and it's an area where I have some experience, like storage, I'm interested. And when I look at the specs, it really specs out the same as the Orico drives. So is it just Orico under a different name? Or is it truly a different company? I don't know. It looks like it's spelled Gigimundo. Shenzhen, China. So it's, I'd have to check the addresses and see if it's the same location as Orico. We have the Orico drive, just for reference, in this unit right here. Because I thought, what better way to test it? Let's put it in a machine that we really depend on, where if it goes down, I'm going to be pissed. And if it doesn't go down, hey, I can recommend it. Why spend the tax for a name brand when you can save money getting something
In this case, better than Western Digital, better than Samsung, cheaper with the same warranty, and it's faster. And this includes the heatsink. Usually it's another 20 bucks for a heatsink. Just saying. Got that review coming up. But not today. Today, just kicking back. And he says Dollar Tree is now almost to $1.50. Yeah, what's a dollar now? 50 cents? Barry Klein said eventually they'll be called Dollars Tree. That would be truth in advertising. 5 below is really 5 above, right? Andy said he's had good experiences with Arico drives. I know Mitch, our friend Mitch Morrison, he put a 4 terabyte Arico in one of his 5 computers. Last I asked him about it, I go, there's no issues with that, right? Not that he's aware of. So I'm assuming no news is good news. Acordius Technology said he just received my DS925 Plus from Amazon. So are you using Synology drives in that, or are you going to put your own drives and run the script? John Paul Bacon said, this has been a wonderful stream. Thank you, John. Andy said he's using Feijing now. I've used a lot of those Feijing drives. We've got over 3 dozen empty boxes. Those are the boxes I didn't throw away. I've yet to see one fail. But these are cheaper. So if they're the same, and they actually run faster than the Feijing, same warranty, but they cost less, step aside Beijing. Even though they haven't done anything wrong, if I can get the same or better for less money, why wouldn't I? Acordius Technology said I'm going to use the script and my own drives. Right on. So the trick when you're using your own drives is just getting DSM installed, right? And that's a really easy thing that I detailed in my video. Once DSM is installed, you never need to open the terminal again. Never again. So I know other YouTube channels have shown opening the terminal and going through all this unnecessary line by line code entering, or even if it's just copy and pasting. Once you're in DSM, you just use the task scheduler. Just copy the script right into that, you're done. It's so fast, it's so easy. And I'd say the only reason you need to go in ever to telnet into it is just to get DSM installed. And depending on with a name like Acordius Technology, you're probably very comfortable with that. But if you weren't, you could simply use any SATA-based SSD, put one SSD in it, let it install DSM to the SSD, which it will do without any script or telnetting, and then add the other drives. And once the other drives are added, well, you would use the script, obviously, when you add 3 more drives to it, run the script, create your volume, or extend your volume, and then when that's all done, take out the SATA SSD, put in your 4th drive. It's a little bit more time consuming, but super easy workaround for people that are a little intimidated with telnet. But the telnet thing is, it's like you enter a line of code. I think it's 1 line of code and it's done. So yeah, just getting the DSM installed. Now, if you're upgrading from an older Synology, so if you've got an older Synology now and you want to take the drives out of your old one and plug it in the new one, then you don't have to worry about DSM, it's already on there. So then you just turn it on. It says, oh, you want to migrate? You go, yeah, I want to migrate it. Then you copy the script into the task scheduler, run it, 2 seconds, you're done. It's really super easy on a migration. And he says, are the Aricos TLC or QLC? On the Arico we put in here, it's TLC. I think it's the same drive.
like I said, I suspect that this is a RICO under another name. I only suspect it. I'll have to verify it, but it looks like all the specs are exactly the same. You know, if you go down the cereal aisle of a grocery store, most of that cereal is only made by 3 companies. If you go down to detergent or dishwashing soap, all that stuff's made by like 2 or 3 companies. They just have all these brands that give you this idea that you're getting choices, but a lot of it's all made by one main company. So I wouldn't be surprised if a RICO is, and they may not be, I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if a RICO is creating or has a hand in offering these alternative companies that are really still them. No differently than General Mills makes a bunch of different cereal, Post makes a bunch of different cereal, Quaker Oats makes a bunch of different cereal. I'd say General Mills and Post probably make up 80% of your options in the cereal aisle. It's pretty commonplace today. And I think, I don't know why I'm pointing at my glasses. I think the maybe it's Gigamundo. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think that's just a RICO for those reasons. Hey, Cordius Technology said your videos are wonderful. Just you seem to always make a video for every time I have a project. Thanks. The last time it was a couple of years with the DS923 Plus. I can't thank you enough. Well, if you're going from a 923 to a 925, it's so easy. But if this is a whole separate thing, like I said, the hardest part is getting the DSM on there. But even that's pretty easy. Andy says the Arico 07000 were QLC, but all came with a heatsink. So there are, like if you look at any manufacturer of NVMe drive, they probably offer different models. Some models will be QLC, some will be TLC, some may be SLC. The Arico drive that I'm referring to is the one we put into this computer here, which was, well, let's see, if I go over to, let's go to my YouTube channel. Let me pull up this build video so I can get into the video notes. That way I can pull the Amazon link up. Because I don't know the model of this drive off the top of my head. IG740 Pro. And if I go to Arico's website, it'll probably say what it is here. It's the same 1.5 million hours. That's the same. It says it's server grade, industry grade. It's a similar price. What does it say? Similar read and writes, very similar. TLC, yeah, it's TLC. I think it's the same drive. But they make a lot of other models, so, you know, let's make sure we're all talking about the same thing here. Samsung does too. Samsung will make drives with QLCs. Team Group will have drives with QLC, TLC, SLC. It's all based on pricing, performance. And he said he's had good luck with his QLC Arico 07000. How long have you had it? He says he's had it about a year or so. I think, for the most part, I think most of the technology we use today is going to outlive us. I think the system I built is going to work 50 years from now, probably beyond that. Maybe not the liquid cooler, but the storage, the RAM, the motherboard, the CPU, all of that will probably last no less than 70 years on average. If it's, kept if it's not abused, if it's not spilled on and dropped and kicked and thrown around, I expect about 70 years out of this stuff, which should be much longer than any of us have. So I'm not suggesting it'll meet my needs for the next 20 years. It won't. But I will likely be replacing this for something with more power or more ability as software changes and the way we use the computers change. This won't be able to keep up in probably 10 years. But it'll still work, and it'll work as well years from now, decades from now, as it works today. So the reason we're replacing things isn't necessarily because of component failure. It does still happen, but it's not as common. It's pretty rare that I have to replace any parts at all for clients these days. I used to replace power supplies and mechanical hard drives multiple times a week. And then it became multiple times a month. Then it became multiple times a year. And now it's like multiple years between one and another. So it still does happen. It's not perfect. I've got a machine I'm trying to get in here that's at one of my clients that's just out of town. When they get back from their trip, they're out of the country. When they get back, I want to get the machine from them because it's exhibiting this bizarre problem. We completely reinstalled. Well, basically, they just said one day they started it up. It said boot failure and no operating system. That usually indicates a bad drive. And this is a computer I built like last year with an NVMe drive, probably Samsung, some name brand. Maybe could be an Intel SSD. Either way, it's a name brand. And I said, that's okay, let's reinstall Windows on it and see if it's a bad drive. And Windows reinstalled just fine, no problems. And while I was updating it, it rebooted itself. It went back to no drive, no operating system found. And then I checked the drive, and the drive says there's no partitions, just like it was. Because initially I thought somebody at the company must have done something, because this drive is like brand new, there's no partitions. That's weird. But they're claiming it just happened on its own. I've never heard of that before. Maybe the drive is bad. Maybe somebody did something they're not telling us. First things first, let's try and put Windows on it. Windows goes on it just fine. Says, oh, you got a brand new drive. This is where you want to put Windows? Yeah. Okay, we're making the partitions. We're installing. Install completes. Put in your username. I do that. Desktop comes up. Everything looks great. Let's go grab some updates. Let's grab an updates. I come to check on it a few minutes later. It's rebooted. And it says, no operating system found. So I put Windows 11 install back in it. And it says, oh, looks like you have a brand new drive. You want to create the partitions? What? What is that? So we're going to get it here. We're going to put it on the bench. And I'm going to demonstrate it live to you. Because that's like a lottery ticket. That's how rare that is. Like a winning lottery ticket. So, well, most people would be like, oh man, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this. I got to show everybody. You're never going to believe this. It's probably a bad drive, something about that drive, but it could be a bad motherboard, or maybe it's RAM related. It ain't a virus because we wiped that drive out. There's no virus that would exist on it after a wipe. So maybe it's power supply. It doesn't seem likely. I think the most likely thing is there's just something flaky with the drive. And when you've worked with as many as I have, the fact that I've only seen one exhibit this kind of a problem ever, I'd say those are good odds. You're probably going to be okay. But nonetheless, it still does happen. It's just much, much rarer. It's so rare, I got to make a big deal out of it.
Charlie Purdy said, great stream. Thanks. I learned something new every show. Well, thank you, Charlie. And thank you for your generosity and support. You know, so much of what we do here is directly related to your generosity. We would not be able to do without you. And we can't thank you enough for that. You know, and not to mention, even if without the generosity, just having you here, you're just a pleasure to have here. And the same for all of our members. We have such an amazing community here that, you know, that to me is the most valuable part of what I do, is being a part of this community. I hope you feel the same way, because we love having you here, all of you. And with all that mushy stuff out of the way, thanks, of course, to Mara for all the work she does in the background. She kept asking me, what are you going to do? How do I make the thumbnail? I'm like, I don't know. And I just decided, you know, let's just do something completely different. I guess it kind of worked out because I've been on much longer than the normal period of time. So for better or for worse, there was no shortage of things to discuss. And thank you so much for being a part of it. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. As I mentioned, and I will continue to mention, the Windows and Microsoft Office license keys website is being upgraded. If you're in the market to buy one, we can still get them for you. Send us an email. We're not going to charge you more for it. It'll be the same price, but because of the state of the website, we sort of have, right now until it's done, our goal is to make sure you get what you need. So we're going to do this extra work for both of you, for SCD keys and for you guys at home, that you don't have to go somewhere else or roll the dice. Just reach out to us. We'll work with SCD keys so we can get the keys another way, and we'll send them to you for the same price. We don't charge anything for that. Just send us an email, and I'm going to put the email address on the screen, and hopefully SCD keys will have their site upgraded sooner rather than later, but we'll do what we can to help fill in the gap in between so you're not left hanging. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support, your contributions, your questions, your participation. Those Amazon gift cards that came in earlier, a shout out one more time and a thank you. Our friend Buster, of course. We have to shout out Buster. We have to shout out our friend Mark Gaines, another very generous viewer here, Chris Johnson, and our friend Charlie Purdy, David Graham. We can't thank you guys enough, and for all the super chats as well. Thanks to each and every one of you. We should be back, I think I'll be back Sunday. Otherwise, on Mondays, we do our members only live stream. That's obviously for members, only for members. Those never, ever, ever go public. And it's a smaller crowd, so there's a lot more one-on-one interaction. If you want to interact with me directly and support the channel, Mondays are videos for you. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.